Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fight Night Rising. It has been a while since I have been here, but I am very excited to be back and casting alongside Boop, who has held the ship down or been an integral part of doing so for such a long time now, it seems. Boop, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing, yeah, I've allegedly been keeping the boat afloat, which is great. Got to cast some Europe, and what's really cool, everyone at home, about this particular lobby, I believe at least 7 of these people have reached top 3 on Fight Night Rising before. We have a couple European players from Fight Night Rising coming back because they hit top 3, plus some of our top 3 members from the last North American and Fight Night Rising. And honestly, this is probably one of the most stacked lobbies Fight Night Rising has ever seen. So, Khroen, like you said before, I am stoked.
Hell yeah, I am excited to hear that. Let's, if we could take a look at our player list to introduce some of these players. I feel like there's been so many times where it's like, oh, this is one of the most stacked lobbies in Fight Night, but maybe this time is actually the case. We have Gunmay, we have Mismatchedsocks, we have Simply Wojtek, we have Treebeard, JinxedJK, Ham Gang, and Adrehhh. So yeah, you're definitely right. This lobby is insanely stacked and sure to be able to provide some good quality games for us, and games that are on a bit of a new patch as well. Boop 10.16 is here and upon us. What are your first kind of initial thoughts or curiosities, kind of questions about what might go on in this patch?
So I think my biggest curiosity right now is seeing how those tier 3 changes come in for some of our champions, like Leona having 200 extra defense at tier 3 when she uses her ultimate. So I wonder if we're going to see some of our players kind of reach, if like the world grants them those extra copies, maybe it might be time to invest on some tier 3 units we might have not seen before. But that's probably the thing I'm looking at most. Then to follow that up is we had probably more item changes for the first time than real champion changes, right? So things like Hand of Justice coming in, I want to see how prevalent we're going to be seeing that item specifically, as the whole idea of the item kind of changed.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Hand of Justice only being one of them. There's like Gunblaze, Static Shiv, even Locket and Renan's got some slight changes, some slight number increases as well. So really, this is going to be really exciting for me to just see how all these players are going to approach all this new stuff and kind of learn along with them, because it's always the case in the first couple of days of a new patch. Everyone's kind of experimenting, even if they have played on PBE, like you can only really get so much practice on PBE in your in-house lobbies, you know, when you are grinding it, you know, for day in and day out, trying to climb the ladder and stuff, prepare for tournaments, because, you know, the world qualifiers tournaments are coming up. So these players are going to be doing so much work towards that. And excited to see what really comes forward as being strong in the meta. Is it going to be a very different patch from 10.6 or 10.15? I'm not sure. Personally, leaning towards the fact that it's not really going to, but some things, again, like the Hand of Justice change, might make a bigger impact than we might think.
We got a couple small changes for like Jinx that might bring, you know, Rebels right over that line of, instead of just locking you a 3rd place, right, you might be able to take that win because of that just 5 extra attack damage. And we don't really know sometimes how like these small changes can affect the game, because even on Summoner's Rift, when you increase a character's armor just by 2, their win rate will go up by like 3%, right? So these things will have delayed effects sometimes, and other times people kind of immediately know exactly how to run with a patch like this. But something that I'm happy about is just the game is kind of, I think, in the same similar state as it has been the last couple of weeks, which is fine, right? Because the game has been in a really great space as everyone gets a recurve bow here to start. And we're going to start off with Gunmay. As Fluffy said last week, Gunmay only does NA times because he only has degenerate hours. So I just wanted to pass that information along. But yeah, Gunmay, one of fan favorite here for Fight Night Rising. I'm very curious to see what he's going to do here, because if we're going to see something crazy, it might be coming from this screen right here.
Yeah, definitely. Gunmay, and there's a lot of memes in the TFT community that Gunmay might as well be NA. He wants to be. Gotta always seemingly hanging around with NA players, competing in NA stuff, and yeah. But everyone's starting off this No Galaxy with a recurve bow. I wonder how many people are going to be thinking about going those 6 Blade Masters with that Master Yi carry. That is a composition that has kind of rose in popularity for the past couple of weeks, and is even still being played now.
I wonder why it may have been rising in popularity. I know a guy who in a tournament previously BM'd the whole time. Do you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I think there may be a couple players, who did that recently, but turns out I was one of those, at least in the finals of the Mortdog Top 4 Madness tournament here on GiantSlayer TV, of course. Might have gone that for every finals game too. Some overall pretty decent success, and I think that the composition, while it has been nerfed a little bit, I believe Master Yi was slightly
his ability
nerfed.
damage got nerfed.
Yeah, still is a good composition, and I would be very surprised actually if we don't see somebody go it with everyone starting off with a bow.
Yeah, and we actually have Last Whisper already for Gunmay. We have a lot of actually item choices. Hand of Justice could actually be online here too. And that's one of the things that the item changes I really, really like. It kind of makes you think about every component just a little bit more, right? What do I want to get out of these individual components? So, for example, with this glove, which direction are you going to go, right? And that's obviously what Gunmay is thinking, separating, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but this glove could be a Hand of Justice, could be a Last Whisper. Now it's kind of what the game gives them.
Yeah, I actually, along that same point, I'm looking at these components, and I
looking at. It's just like he already, if you slam some defensive items on him, right, could last a very, very long time in the end game. Now there's a reason to try to make it even more beefy at the, in the later stages of this game, as we're still looking at Gunmay. We already have a Last Whisper sword for Treebeard, looking like we have some Xayah action here, Khroen, and this is the Blade Masters you were talking about.
Well, I mean, not quite the Blade Masters I was referring to. The Xayah is, of course, another take on the Blade Master, as Xayah does want to go into 6 BMs eventually. But yeah, that Xayah focus over the Master Yi focus, I think both are viable. They just take a couple of different approaches to it, I suppose. If you start off with like an IE Last Whisper, you want to go Xayah. If you start off with a lot of bows, then you want to go into Master Yi. I do wonder how viable that Xayah reroll composition is, though, because we haven't quite seen it be super popular recently, but every now and again, people still run it.
It always feels like a fallback comp to me, right? It's like, I guess I'll go this for now and like cross my fingers, try to transition into it a little bit later, because it does have a good early game, especially with the items that are available. And with the new Shiv changes, we might be seeing our like Pichu, Pikachu, Shredder, Xayah, maybe a little bit more frequently. But right now, I think the Xayah is just, again, one of those, I have it now. Good person to slam some items on, especially if I'm going for Last Whisper or IE a little bit later. And we'll see what happens once we get into the mid game, but we got to get the Xayah to get us there first.
Yeah. Definitely. It's curious that you bring up the Pikachu Zaya case, and I've been talking with some people for the past couple of days about how exactly to make static Shiv work now that it will deal true damage off of CC targets. And I know people are talking about, oh, maybe you have some infiltrators and you put a frozen heart on infiltrator jumping the back line, and so whoever's holding that Shiv, it'll proc and deal true damage to everything back there. I know theory crafting this stuff is very interesting in a new patch, so curious to see if people will, maybe try to experiment with the Pikachu, or maybe just put it on a Kog'Maw or something. Static Shiv was already a pretty decent Kog'Maw item. But Gunmay has not elected to slam any items yet. He is opting to Lost Streak, playing a pretty weak board here, wants to get some specific item off of the Stage 2 carousel. We will see what it is momentarily after this round against wojtek, though.
Yeah, this is actually what Gunmay is experiencing right now is probably what I struggle the most as a player, which is when I have too many decisions to make, right? And when you have so many options that could be good, and you're kind of separating the difference between like a B+ and an A-, right? But in TFT, a B+ might be a 4th place and an A- might be a 1st place, right? Depending on how the rest of the game goes. So we really, really are looking for Gunmay to make that decision here soon, because once he gets this last item, I'm very curious to see where he's going to be going, because he's got a lot of decisions to make.
Grabs the Master Yi with a belt there. I'm still off of just grabbing a belt. Not sure what direction he's going to go with that, but we will see.
It's all about choices. Everybody's life comes to a fork in the road sometimes, and unfortunately for Gunmay, this is more of like a sprawling metropolis neighborhood in terms of choices he can go down.
Yeah. You could even see that in his movement in the carousel there. He started running away from the Yi, and then he turned back and said, no, wait, I want it. So maybe that too many choices thing is kind of coming true here. But as we go into stage 2-5, will Gunmay decide to keep lose streaking? Will he decide to actually make any items right now? He has 20 gold to econ with, which is not too bad, considering this is a no Galaxy game. A lot of players won't be on 20 gold as Gunmay is currently, opting to put in a couple of Vanguards as well. Probably will sell for that 20 econ if he does not win this upcoming round.
Yeah, and this could actually be worse for Gunmay, right? He could have a way less HP to work with, but this is a very intentional. It feels very intentional from Gunmay. It's going to be red buff static Shiv, and that's
some battlecast items.
Yeah, those are definitely some battlecast items. So Caitlyn's most likely just holding on to him just now. We're probably going to see Gunmay lose out, but battlecast. I think if you're a general player, you probably know battlecast as an early game composition. Where does it kind of stand now with some of these item changes and some of these other maybe opportunities to bring it into the mid game and late game?
Personally, I'm not a fan of battlecast. Maybe it's just my own bad experience with it, but I do think it seems to be not what's the word I'm looking for? Not a consistent composition. You can high roll with it, get your 3 stars, get your Alawi, Graves, Nocturne, and eventually your Kog'Maw to tier 3. High roll and maybe a battlecast spat, or get to the point where you can put in 6 battlecast reliably. But just taking a small sample size in the recent Cloud9 Nebula qualifiers, Saint Vicious and myself both tried to play a game of 6 battlecast, and we both went 8th place in our respective games there. So it's a little bit of a risk here, but I believe Gunmay to be a strong enough player and to already have 2 of the essential items for the composition to be able to go it without much difficulty here. But no Kog'Maws yet, only 1 Alawi and only 1 Graves. It's not an amazing start, but he is doing fairly well when it comes to the econ, and will be able to start rolling for those after not too long.
This is a little bit of that Gunmay special too, which is let's nosedive to the bottom of the leaderboard real quick. Peepa's kind of the same way, right? And then just stabilize, and everyone else will kind of fall. There's so many times where I look over, our Gunmay's in 8th, and then I look over and he's still on the bottom of the leaderboard, but he's in 4th, and all of a sudden he's won the lobby. So definitely let's not count him out yet. But let's take a look at someone else right now. Let's take a look at one of our European players. Let's go to Simply wojtek, because I mostly want to see if his parents are watching. So if you guys weren't here for EU Fight Night, Simply wojtek was someone who top 3 2 times in a row and coming in and playing at these crazy NA hours. And one of the best things I saw was he had I think his brother and his mom behind him, like obviously giving him tips, right? Like the fingers were pointing and then they got on camera and they got all nervous. And it was so cute to see such a supportive, like, family unit in a situation like this. It was like, this is what esports can be. You know what I mean? So that's why Simply wojtek pops up. And he was by far, in terms of all of the EU lobbies outside of Fluffy, because Fluffy was a special case. He played twice and won twice. He was by far the most consistent out of everyone. We're still looking over at Gunmay against Treebeard, who has Last Whisper and IE on that Xayah.
Yeah, actually also elected to level up, it seems. Similarly to Gunmay, generally players who are going for those reroll style compositions will not purchase XP ever. But Treebeard, level 5, 40 gold, still in a good spot, just probably isn't going for that tier 3, Xayah there. But hopping on over to wojtek, we have something that looks like a Ashe or a Bard carrier there in that Ezreal, that Rageblade Shojin's even going to be something maybe like a Xerath and a Janna later, a composition that is still strong even after it got nerfed a decent amount.
I love the Shojin's Ashe. It is one of my favorite things to play. It got nerfed 2 patches ago, I believe, where I think it takes like 1 or 2 more extra auto attacks to get the crystal arrow out, but it can definitely bring you through the mid game. Will fall off a little bit later until you adjust your comp to try to make it possible for you to win in the late game. But that Ashe comp is one that's really fun to watch and really cool to see work out as we finally get to see some Celestials and some Protectors involved along with some Snipers. But right now we're Simply wojtek doing the Gunmay thing, but looking at Gunmay, he's already at 58 HP. That's not good. As 82 earlier on that PC run was fine. 58 right now before that carousel, the 3-3 carousel is going to be pretty rough. But Nico's going to be on a 3. Shroud of Stillness is nerfed, but still pretty good item.
Yeah, Shroud of Stillness did take a bit of a hit. Goes from 40% increased in their mana needed to cast the spell to 30%. But that roll there from wojtek going into that round was a double Nico to upgrade that into a Nico too. So going to be a huge upgrade in terms of frontline there. Nocturne isn't going to be the best unit in terms of an item carrier for that Shojin Rageblade, but I suppose not the worst. But going up against Jinxed here, who has already rolled into a Jinx, funnily enough there, with the Hand of Justice as well. Maybe Jinx is one of those characters, or one of those champions that will be able to utilize Hand of Justice pretty well, because I believe the damage from our rockets will proc that healing if that indeed rolls that. It's something that I have tried a couple of times in the past couple of days on this patch, and it seems pretty good, but we'll get some further information from that watching how Jinx does.
Yeah, and I think one of the coolest things is the AoE damage from Jinx's rockets are magic damage, and then the direct damage is the attack damage. So you actually are getting healing from all aspects, which is going to give you just a little bit more oomph if you're that Jinx, because one of the biggest changes during that Darkstar buff phase, with the dark times, was the fact that they needed a way for Jinx to be countered, right? And so they just made her attack really slow to where like ooze was just coming out of her gun, and then she was just not doing enough. So now with 5 extra damage and everything that you just said, there is a possibility for her to stay alive a little bit longer and compete against some of those Shakos, some of those really bursty type of carries, or even those Aurelias a little bit later. But here it is. Here's that Ashe. I love this team comp. I can't really put my finger on why I enjoy it so much, but I've been a Ranger player for so long. I play a lot of Ashe on Summoner's Rift. She's really good right now. But the moral of the story here is a lot of people are going to be frozen. It's going to be frustrating for whoever he goes against. It's going to be Treebeard up first.
Oh yeah, let's see it. Can the Ashe keep chaining those crystal arrows? Or will Treebeard Xayah just keep on shredding? Looks like the Xayah has the advantage currently, at least.
This is going to be a big arrow right here.
Oh, yeah, there we go. The arrow stunning up the Rakan and the Xayah. Xayah getting set up again, and Caitlyn for the snipe to finish. Yeah, The
That
Shredder
could not
was
have
not
gone
quite
better.
enough there.
That could not have gone better for Wojtek. It could have. The Shroud of Stillness could have hit somebody. But, we take those. We take these. Simply Wojtek sitting at above 50. Yeah, as you see his whole demeanor change all of a sudden, right? A little bit more relaxed, has everything that he wants. Picks up the Bard. Level 1 Bard is nerfed. Everything else is, I believe, the same. But looking at his board right now, we got some Mystics. We got more Zins. What are we... The Bard is something that we tend to see in a comp like this, but is it too little too late?
I mean, you're not going to want to sell the Ashe to play the Bard. Generally, if you find a Bard early, you're going to have it with the Shojins to ramp up your XP to get you to late game faster, because this composition does cap with that, level 9, Janna, Xerath, getting your Urgots and your Echoes as well, just legendary units, kind of that Piba or like that Saint Vicious kind of play style that they've both done really well at recently. And Wojtek's, I believe, in a good spot to maintain that here, especially with already having a Nico 2 frontline and 2 of the necessary items that you need with that composition. Even once the Ashe dies, the front line's still just too much, perhaps? No, okay, barely. Ham Gangs Kog'Maw holds on and does win that round, so Wojtek will not carry that win streak into the neutral round.
All right, and after we get through this neutral round, we can see what Socks is doing.
If you wanted to watch him as well, he's looking like he's gonna go those 6 PMs. So.
Yeah, so we're 1 wavelengths, man. It's nice for you to be back. I missed this. I really, really did.
Missed this too.
Now we're at the Terror Bursters. No. Oh, wait.
Infiltrators. Terror
Bursters were earlier. I still call them Krugs and stuff. But anyway, we got the Infiltrators now. Good amount of gold for Wojtek, but that's probably not... I think everyone's happy with gold, right? But in terms of itemization, he's actually okay. Right now, he's got the important items on the Ashe, and now he can look at leveling up some of these units, especially that Caitlyn, man. I see that Caitlyn one in the corner still.
Yeah, that's just going to be a Caitlyn one forever. It's not getting leveled up, probably. But, taking a look on over at Mismatchedsocks, level 7, 40 gold, rolling to try to find that last BM. Doesn't have it yet, but does have RFC plus Jeweled Gauntlet, which are 2 very, very important items for the Yi. Just needs 1 more bow to round out that build with that Runaan's Hurricane. Socks in a good spot, though, here. Needs to find a couple more Yis before he's really confident and he's stabilized. But being on 67 HP right now is definitely not bad at all.
Especially on a comp that's so feast or famine like this. And the Jinx might actually pull this out into the end.
That healing,
we saw the nerf there to the Yi too, I believe, with some of that ability damage. So we got to see like the effectiveness of what we actually talked about earlier, which is Jinx needed to stay alive a little longer to counter some of the other carries in the game. There are so many Jinx players, right? There's so many Rebel players that I think you kind of do have to... I don't know, this is a good philosophical question. Like, because there are so many Jinx players, is that the reason why we see so many changes with her, you think?
I wonder. I think Jinx is a champion that is kind of hard to balance. Either when she, gets going off this reset, she's a bit too powerful. The things that support her compositions are sometimes too powerful. We saw that with Rebels, and we might even be starting to see that again this patch with Rebels, but it is too early to say. So perhaps, watching this Master Yi, though. This Master Yi is just tearing up Gunmay's board. Gunmay needs to find some tier 3 units very, very soon, because being 35 HP on 4-2 is not really where you want to be.
And remember, everyone at home, it's like, oh, he's got 35 HP, but that's really what, 3 or 4 losses in the late game, probably 3. And so every time you lose it from this point on, it's just that much more important. That's one opportunity to where you rock, paper, scissors against your counter on the other side. You just lose instead of getting another opportunity. Does find the tier 3 unit. I don't know if you know about the caster curse in TFT, but you're only allowed the tier 3 when the casters are not watching you. Apparently, if we're watching you, you are not going to find that last unit. So I'm glad we were able to give them a little bit of a respite, as everyone's looking up at Narkez right now. Very interesting lobby. It didn't seem super strong right now, but they're definitely starting to power up. I mean, when a tier 1 Yi can carry through this long, right? you're kind of gifted a little bit in that situation.
Oh yeah. Wow, that Master Yi. There's a reason why he got nerfed, and there's a reason why he's still being played even after getting nerfed there. Yi just tearing through everything. I thought Narkez's comp would just rip through those Blade Masters. The Jinx was doing a lot of work there. Speaking of Jinx, how many Jinx players do we have in this lobby? There's at least like 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3 is the number that popped into my head when you said the question. I mean, 5 extra attack damage is not nothing, right? Especially when it's consistent. You've got Hand of Justice increasing both the AoE damage and the regular attack damage if you're running that. Plus, there are a couple different ways to itemize characters like Jinx now. And that's, I think, what they wanted to do with these item changes. But right now, we got Brawlers for Narkez, a couple demos. But this is another one of those comps that you see a lot of people going after, but until we get that Jinx to Jinx 2, it's going to be pretty rough going once we get into some of these late stage games, especially after Arc Raptors.
Very interesting. Narkez choosing to slam a double Hand of Justice. That Rumble, of course, being an item carrier for Gangplank, fitting that Demolitionist synergy in right now. Rumble is even a pretty good mid-game unit. Does hopefully want to roll into a Chain Vest at the Arc Raptors to get that Guardian's Angel, but going to be quite the uncertain thing if that's going to be able to be achieved or not. Gunmay, though, finding some tier 3s, is it going to be enough to defeat Narkez and the Jinx? The Jinx healing is insane right now, and probably will carry the victory into that Kog'Maw. Beats Gunmay there.
Yeah, we got to see a little bit of the static shiv changes there too, which is one of the big reasons why you're seeing Kog'Maw so popular again all of a sudden. I mean, that I was playing with a friend and he put 3 static shivs on Kog'Maw and it was hilarious. Not very good, but it was hilarious. And
no red buff. Yikes.
Yeah, you got to get the red buff. But it's very, very interesting to kind of see how things evolve where everyone wrote off Battlecast for months. Right now, all of a sudden, we got 2 players going after it right now. Kog'Maw is that kind of carry with those items, and it opens up even more opportunities if you don't get what you want. As Narkez did lose that last round, but has developed quite a lead over the rest of the lobby, who's actually been struggling. Narkez probably has the most complete comp out of everybody so far in this lobby, and it's all based off of the statted out Jinx. Look at that healing.
This Hand of Justice, watching this, I'd already thought it was pretty good, but it might actually be a best in slot item on Jinx. Like this evidence here, of course, it's only around 4-7. People haven't power spiked to how they're going to be at the end game here yet. But man, it's looking pretty good for a Hand of Justice Jinx argument.
I mean, she's just tier 1, which she's supposed to be awful at. We were talking about that earlier. And the fact that they're, 1, getting excited so quickly, and 2, you have double % health damage with the Giant Slayer and the red buff that's going on everybody. So, like, you've got all of that % health damage. You get excited. You get the extra damage from the Hand of Justice. It makes sense. I mean, I think we were just in a world, or even me, we're in a world where I see, like, a bow and a glove, and I'm like, Last Whisper. Right. And that's it. That's what goes on my auto attacking carries. But now with these changes, it might be totally different as this kind of like % health lifesteal Jinx right now from Narkez, which is at tier 2, already in first place, by the way. Narkez is going to be competing for this lobby.
Already in first place, and not only high rolls the exact vest that he needed for Guardian's Angel, but then on the subsequent turn rolls a natural Jinx in the shop to hit a Jinx too. Narkez is a very strong candidate to win this lobby here. Gets a Nico's to boot to be able to find whatever he needs later, whether it be Gangplank 2, Aurelion Soul 2, hell, even maybe Echo 2 you can fit in there at the end as well. Put in a couple infiltrators with Set.
She's doing. This year, just delete that Nico. Jesus Christ. That % health stacking, I think there's something there. I might be over evaluating that because I like that kind of thinking. But because I would originally think that, red buff with gunslingers, I'm sorry, with blasters are, something that you usually do, but the Giant Slayer Hodge combo is not something I thought of.
Yeah, I mean, Giant Slayer, Red Buff, always been good items on Jinx. Throw a Hodge in there, and it seems to be working out rather nicely indeed. Narkez also picking up some Rebels to be ready to pivot into that 6 Rebel form in the late game, but running 4 Brawlers is going to be the best to do for now. Looking at the other Jinx on the opposite side there from Jinx, some pretty, it's like that Spider-Man meme right there.
Yeah, I know,
There's like
right?
the same exact build.
Excuse me, hello, how's it going? Let's be friends. And
Yeah.
that's crazy. And that basically was who Jinx was attacking. The priority there is what brings him that victory. So that was a fun little 1v1 as Treebeard and Mismatchedsocks also hitting that fire. But look at everyone below him as 4th place at 26 HP before Khroen. And I don't know if this was kind of a similar experience with a lot of your tournaments, but pretty much overall, these Fight Night Risings, these lobbies have been quick. And people have been dying really, really fast. And that tends to happen after a new patch. But where do you kind of credit it here? How have our top 3 developed such a lead?
I mean, that does seem to happen in like half the lobbies. You got 3, 2, sometimes 4 people that are kind of just like high rolling or dominant. And the rest of the lobbies kind of struggling. They take a lot of hits. They opt to loss streak and try to come back later. Unfortunately for Ham Gang, wasn't able to do that. So is out in 8th place. Narkez is taking a bit of a hit from Mismatchedsocks. Although Socks is one of those players that is on the top of the lobby, played the early to mid game very well, found that Yi2, has perfect items, and is using that to propel his momentum forward here. But going into the stage 5 carousel, completed items, Jinx takes some Morellos, wojtek with an Ionic Spark, Treebeard with a Rage Blade there. I do want to check in a bit with Treebeard and see where that Rage Blade is going. I know Treebeard does like a lot of legendaries in his late game composition. So
yeah,
curious if that is on a Xerath or whatnot.
Treebeard is definitely one of those guys that'll surprise you with you look over and all of a sudden he's got all those tier 2s with iconic units. And that was the whole intent the whole time. I have yet to be able to pull that off myself. I'm just I just like spending so much money. And I know that's supposed to help me there, but here I don't know. As we finally get our gangplanks, the rumbles are going to get sold. Ionic Spark. We also have a Nico's, and I'm curious to see where that's going to go. Probably as we get another Acel or another. He could have put it on the Acel this time around, or the gangplank. I wonder what the plan is here.
Yeah, I think the plan is just going to be Nico, whichever one that Narkez doesn't find. He is not hard pressed to have to use it right now. Still has 60 HP. Might lose this round to wojtek. Wojtek has power spiked very, very heavily with this Janna and Xerath. But Narkez has time on his side.
Yeah, and we have 3 people remaining with 11 HP or less. So that's 1 loss for all 3 of those players. Wojtek, I think, is actually cool with getting a 4th. I think that was kind of where he finished most of the time in the EU Fight Night Risings, was like 4th or 3rd. So it's par for the course for Simply Wojtek. Very consistent player. Actually kind of reminds me of you, Khroen, the way that he handles a lot of these tournaments, where just, Mr. Consistency. And so,
consistency is the name of the game in TFT, in my opinion. And wojtek, going on that sort of same vein there, we do see the Rage Blade from Treebeard went onto the Master Yi, so has 6 BMs and has put the off items on the Yi. That gangplank, though, from Narkez, stunning everything as the Jinx tears through the rest. But Saya is able to take out the Jinx. She's going to be able to survive. No, Aurelion Soul. Does it.
Yeah, that's going to be a loss for our friend Treebeard there. What an exhilarating round, though. I like it when rounds get that close, and that seems to have happened since 2 patches ago, as we do get our top 4, as Simply wojtek actually falls and Jinx sneaks in to our top 4, but we're okay if we're wojtek or even Adrehhh. Gunmay is probably fine too, and the Ham Gang is looking up right now. But we've seen a couple times in a couple lobbies where an 8th placer will end up winning the whole thing. So no one is out of the running just yet, but we do have our top 4. So all of these players are going to be set up for success moving from here on out. As a Bloodthirster on this can actually definitely be pretty valuable for somebody on this team to give them just a little bit more sustain. But yeah.
might go onto that Yasuo. I would assume I don't have anything there. I would maybe say Irelia, but there is no Irelia on the board here for Treebeard. Still has the Fiora in instead. And okay, it does go on the Riven though. Not really amazing on a Riven. Usually Riven has more benefit from her casting her spell, but not a bad item nonetheless. Gives her a little bit of that magic resistance as well. We got our top 4 pretty quickly here. You know, Gunmay, Adrehhh, and wojtek all being eliminated within a couple of rounds of each other. Our top 4. Jinx may be the next to fall. Boop, take us through it.
All right, so Jinx sitting at level 9 has that Morello's on that Aesol and is getting into the back line, but the Xayah, though, is just ripping him to shreds. That Lulu's not going to last for very much longer as Jinx is going to fall. So now we have a little bit of a different lobby as we're sitting everyone at over 34 HP. That's 2 or 3 losses for almost everybody in this lobby. So we probably make it to Shelly based off of what I'm seeing right now as we get to level 9s. We're going to see these teams max out, these boards max out right now, and we're going to really see this patch, I think, come into play as we determine who ends up winning our first lobby today.
Yeah, some very interesting decisions here. Socks opted to go to level 9 as opposed to roll for E3. E3 can definitely be a win condition, but I have seen compositions work without the E3 as well. Oh no, everything is going into that Gangplank ulti, and the Jinx is going to clean up soon? Question mark? Wait, she hasn't even reset yet, though.
No, got caught attacking a tank, but that Giant Slayer, I mean, that percent health situation over there at Narkez, just a little bit too much. And Treebeard rolling in the dough right now. So even though we're at 33 HP, we have 70 gold. What would you do in this situation, Khroen? Is it time to level up and put someone else in that he doesn't have just yet? He is competing with Socks on the same for a similar comp.
Yeah, definitely some overlap in terms of the units there. Maybe that's one of the reasons that Socks decided to go to level 9, and I believe it is. Treebeard did have 5 Master Yis on the bench. I think the best decision is going to be for Treebeard to eco up for one more round and level up, roll for something, whether that be a Rebel or just like a strong unit, and not worry about the synergy. That is a viable option. And that Xayah is still just shredding. Actually, that RFC of the Xayah is getting so much value. Her not having to spend any time to move, but just keep getting those BM procs. She's just destroying mostly every composition here.
Yeah, and I believe, did Xayah get any tier 3 changes by chance?
I don't believe so. I do have patch notes up so I can fact check myself real quick. No, she didn't.
Okay, and I believe Socks won the race there for the Thon, and actually, with over 33 HP in the way that this worked out, that Force of Nature is going to find that value. So especially since he's sharing units with somebody else, just to have one more person on the board is a distinct advantage with someone that you are competing for units for. So you just have more people, and that's a really big deal. So we've got 6 Blade Masters. We got the Infiltrator with a little bit of Slash a couple of the other ways, but we have Irelia on this side. We don't have an Irelia on the other. Instead, we are pushing our damage onto the Xayah, and that's the give and take here between those two. So who will reign supreme? Is it going to be this Xayah, or is it going to be Mismatchedsocks Irelia? I believe they're going to face off against each other, as there was a ghost there for Treebeard. And I am correct. Which Blade Masters? Who is going to BM?
The Zephyr. Really good Zephyr by Treebeard. They're catching the Master Yi of Mismatchedsocks, and that might be the difference of this round, at least. As this Xayah... Oh, no, the Yasuo actually takes out the Xayah there. So even with getting Zephyred, Mismatchedsocks still comes out victorious in this round. Of course, Treebeard is not eliminated yet, so he has another chance. Narkez winning his round as well.
Yeah, that redemption was clutch, too. You might want to think about some healing mitigation if Shelly is able to gift it to us, because that redemption might end up being the death of our friend here, as a Treebeard sitting at 12 HP. So all 3 players could potentially make Shelly. I don't remember the last time we had 3 players make that NPC round, but definitely a possibility here. It's going to be Rebels versus Blade Masters, and what a classic kind of final 3, right, in terms of team comps.
Yeah, definitely. I want to say Socks maybe kind of goofed his positioning here a little bit. Oh no, the Gangplank actually turns around and doesn't cast on the Master Yi, so that's super good for Socks there. And yeah, the Yi can just tear everything apart because of that. Treebeard is falling, however, so the Xayah composition did get outskilled.
All right, so now Socks could get his own tier 3 Xayah if they choose.
I don't think so, unfortunately.
It is an option. Why not have the best of both worlds, Khroen? Do you not like fun?
True. I mean, I do enjoy fun, but maybe that's a little too for fun. Maybe that's a little too fun here for Socks. Rolling for 2-3 Xayah at level 9.
Touche, my friend. Touche, my friend. This Titan's Resolve might actually be a nice little thing for our Shen in the front line, or even someone like, let's talk about fun. Who would be the worst person to put a Titan's Resolve on this team? Who would be the meanest?
Thresh? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of not great Titan's Resolve holders here. The only thing that really holds Titan's Resolve well is like mech. So honestly, it's kind of bad for everybody here. It'll probably Shen will probably fall even before it gets to like half stacks, let alone full. Socks is opting to put 2 Mystics in here, which is a good decision, I think. What's that? Luden's going to go on?
Someone. It's got to go on somebody.
On that Irelia. I don't actually think it works on Irelia, but I could be wrong about that one.
I don't think it does either. I feel like I've tried that and then have been embarrassed about it. It's like, remember old school Ari with RFC?
Yeah.
She just would miss her ult.
Misses,
right? Yeah, it might be a similar situation. But you know, that we don't really get to see how important mouse accuracy can be in TFT, except for that one moment as Mismatchedsocks now struggling at 7 HP, but has the Urgot. If the Urgot's able to take any of the carries on the other side, we could definitely see this go on for even longer. But Narkez, I believe, has been in first place since like the second round. And he's still in first place. Remember, he got that Jinx at like 4-1. 3-5 maybe.
Definitely. Some good Mana Reaver positioning there from Socks. Gangplank ulti goes off, does not stun the Yi. And Narkez is looking favored in this matchup and will take out the Yi, and Socks does fall, giving Narkez our game number 1 victory using those Rebels and the Jinx, which we thought would be good, and confirming that is good.
It's not just Rebels and Jinx, though. It's the itemization that we saw repeated on, complete on another board. We'll get those scores for you in just 1 second. But Narkez, I believe, coming from our EU region and representing. Yep. We actually had, I think, 2 times where the point record almost got broken from Sleet a couple months ago. So I know these players from EU are really trying to make some noise, especially in a lobby like this where there are a lot of recognizable names. But to start out on top of the leaderboard, that legend will not match for now. We'll get that going in just a second. But Narkez has 10 points, Mismatchedsocks at 8, Treebeard 7, Jinx 6, followed by wojtek, Adrehhh, Gunmay, and Ham Gang. I used to cast with someone named Ham Tornado, so there is a little bit of a affinity for Ham Gang, just for the pork,
Yeah, hopefully Ham Gang is able to turn it around a little bit in the next few games. Something that is surprising, though, is Gunmay not doing that well in game number 1. Usually, at least from what I'm used to in casting here on Fight Night, Gunmay comes out of the gate swinging. Remember the conversation, a month and a half or so ago about that consistency that Gunmay has in games 1 and 2, but it drops off. It progressed into Gunmay being consistent throughout all 4 games and taking some Fight Night victories. But now, starting off slow, is this going to be kind of the fall of Gunmay, perhaps? He did kind of maybe tease a little bit that he might actually be retiring from TFT, something that, wanted to give a moment to talk about. Gunmay has had a lot of success in the past couple of months. He was on that redemption arc, was on that grind, but thinking that maybe he wants to take a step away from that. Personally, I hope that's not the case. I think Gunmay is a very, very strong competitor, someone that I really, really enjoy watching, playing against, is a colleague of mine. Yeah, I mean, hey, gotta love Gunmay. Gotta love.
Gotta love 13 weeks in a row at Fight Night Rising.
Is that
right?
the stat?
So that is the stat. 13 weeks in a row. I don't believe anyone else has gotten over 3. So like 3 or 4, because we do also have like a 3-week curse that only I believe Gunmay has been able to avoid falling victim to. So I mean, Gunmay's another regular galaxy. Very interesting. This is my curse as a player. I don't ever get to play galaxies, but at this point, the regular galaxy is a galaxy in its own, right? But yeah, Gunmay retiring, you know, to be selfish, I hope it's an esports retirement, right?
Yeah.
Where another big tournament comes in and there's an opportunity that maybe may have not presented itself to Gunmay in terms of feasibility to stay in this world for a little bit longer. Because that's a decision a lot of us have to make in this world. I'm sure both of us have had to make this choice of real life versus, you know, our esports life. And hopefully Gunmay can still contribute here. There is maybe a possibility he's back for set 4. But yeah, let's hope that his potential last tournament, let's not, you know, it's not goodbyes, just see you laters, you know what I mean? So hopefully the see you later for Gunmay is going to be a little bit different, as we're looking over at Jinx, who's had himself quite a rise in terms of popularity and social media recently. I remember he was in the first Fight Night Rising I think I ever casted back with Blevins a long time ago. And Jinx, I remember, had like 200 followers, is hitting, you know, has almost double that right now. And it's because of also the great content he's been making, which he does a lot of really good deep dives and a lot of these comps, similar to like That's Primal. There's so much good content in the TFT world that these players are doing. Jinx definitely showing off some of that on his social media right now. Has one of the best little legends available too. I call that the Toucan Sam.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anyone else use this specific little legend. I don't even know if I've seen it before. But it's looking pretty cool. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
but,
definitely tasty. Definitely on the list for tastiest little legends. This one's going to be a little bit more, you know, candy fruity dessert like, I think, versus some of his other brethren. But yeah, sorry about that. That's
tasty, just like Bard Meeps.
Exactly, just like Bard Meeps.
All right, yeah, Jinx starting off with only a vest and a bow here. Not really some definitive direction. Has the protectors on board now, but could make Leona 2. Does decide to do it, actually. Wonder if he'll buy the Poppy, though, and decide to go Vanguards. The items might give some direction here. It's a cloak, which, if I'm Jinx, is not really what I want to see there, but there's a Bard as well. Bard did get nerfed at the tier 1, will be generating less XP for you. Personally, I wasn't a huge fan of the Bard playstyle, especially not now that it is even worse. Jinx has some decisions here. Just a matter of what route he wants to go.
So another thing that was actually really cool to recognize is regions have definite preferences on how they open their boards, right? Some regions like starting protectors, some like really starting brawlers. In EU, we had so many protector starts, and I know protectors were strong, but there really wasn't a ton of other things available. So I wonder if here we're going to see a little bit more variety, as Jinxed does have a protector start open, but we have started to use this Bard. Going to go ahead and put the bow on. Gets 1 meep, and again, you see the nerf right here and right now. Might get a second one. He does. Okay. And 2 meeps at level 4 is actually kind of a lot of value in terms of percentage. I mean, it's 20% of your XP, right? Yeah. But still, you got to, that was close. Like, you're definitely, you saw the nerf there.
Yeah, no, you definitely did. I'm just oohing at this triple Lucian shop. If Jinx had kept the Leona from earlier, that is a easy pickup there. But actually probably won't end up doing this. He's pretty committed to having, Bard farm up those meeps and just push levels here. And I think that might be the correct call if he is able to have a solid mid game to transition him to that fast 9 sort of P.Va playstyle.
And if anyone is wondering, P.Va is a player that gets 1st or 8th. I think they say it themselves. So, and the P.Va build, quote unquote, is the one with all of the high 5 cost units. So, colloquially, that P.Va build is just 1 meep, 2 meeps now for this Bard. So far, actually, other than the fact that I feel like it's a little clenching to see if the second meep comes out. right? For these Bard games, but it seems to be working out so far. And the Bard has helped Jinx pre-level to 5, so he can be a little bit more open. He could, if he wins this round, he could sell the Zoe, get some econ going. But yeah, Jinx having a pretty standard start when it comes to having that Bard in. Got the attack speed from the Jarvan. This could potentially bring him a really fast level 6, level 7, hit those 4 cost and 5 cost units a little bit faster.
Yep, I'm actually a little bit surprised that Jinx didn't decide to pre-level to 5 last turn a little bit. Could have sold the Zoe to do so. Would maintain the win streak here, which if there is an option to win streak with Bard, then I think it would be pretty good to go for that. Could have put a TF, a tier 2 TF in, and actually might have made the difference here, as I believe without doing that, Jinx will indeed lose this round against Adrehhh, although Adrehh's comp is pretty strong here. But level 5 will be achieved for Jinx nonetheless, and we'll get a decent pre-level or a level 5 shop in the next round. Doesn't sell to make 10 gold, decides to buy out the shop.
Sorry, there is 1 out of 20, and that just like it makes my shoulders hurt.
Man.
Sorry about that. It was like a visceral reaction.
I heard that you were actually deeply disturbed by that.
Yeah, I know. I saw the 1, and it's like only even numbers in TFT, guys. Anyway, yeah, and Jinx is. I'm very intrigued to see how this Bard comp goes, because at least right now, the 2 meeps I think is fine, but now is kind of when you start needing, like if you go up against a Vanguard comp, sometimes you can get 6-7 meeps back in the day, right? Because the round lasts so long, you get so many of those, mucus meeps there. But the moral of the story is right now, I don't know if this Bard's going to be able to produce as much, especially with those kind of favorable matchups where you might lose, but they last a really long time. Because as you get, longer in this game, the rounds become shorter. So the value for that Bard becomes less and less. And the importance of 2-star it now becomes, I think, a little bit more and more if you want to try to find equal value, because that hasn't changed.
Yeah, definitely agreed there. There's even the people play style where you just play as many bards as you find. You have a tier 2 bard and a tier 1 bard in there. It's just all the XP that you can be able to get at all. Jinx finally, though, on 10 gold at least, trying to make econ there, going up against Mismatchedsocks, who I believe actually is going to be going for those Blade Masters again. He did actually publicly say earlier that he wanted people to contest him while he goes BMs, so he knows people in the NA qualifiers, NA Oceania qualifiers for Worlds, won't contest him there. So a little bit of some meta going on here from Socks. Wants to kind of develop that brand as a BM forcer.
I'm totally fine with Omni players. I remember back in set 1, there was a real debate because my husband was a Yordle only player, and honestly, it's the closest to divorce we've ever been because of that. We would queue up for lobbies, and he'd always play Yordles no matter what, and I still hate him for it. But love hate, But but I think there should be an opportunity for people, kind of like Fluffy and Rebels, or other types of comps that you could potentially force an Omni them, because you're just so good at running those, and it's kind of like those OTPs in League, and that's within itself like a huge discussion to have. But I think the game can allow something like that, as simply wojtek is running a Vayne on the other side, a unit that some people still love and other people I think will say is still pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I think overall Vayne is a very powerful unit in that 7-minute composition. You can run her late game, personally, I think, as well. So gonna hopefully be able to get that tier 2 Vayne after not too long for wojtek. Jinxed, however, on this board here, has hit that Bard 2 before Krugs or Terra Bursters, as they are officially called. And we talked about the fact that Bard is the same at tier 2, and getting a 3-cost tier 2 before the Terra Bursters is quite the feat here. Jinxed will be able to go fast 9, I believe, as long as he maintains having this Bard on the board.
I would have been baited to pick up the Teemo there and been like, Astros! But I think Jinx makes the right decision. Econ is so much more important. Picks up a couple Annies. So we might be looking at some mix, maybe. We do have some good items for it on the Jarvan currently. So is a possibility. I don't know, but I am a little worried about the money that Jinx has right now. Is probably a little behind in terms of economy, but now is the time to start building that and seeing what happens after this next carousel. So overall, very interesting opening from Jinx. Anytime you see Bard on the field, you kind of have to take the game a little bit differently. You're playing a little bit differently than you normally do. The goal, of course, is to win streak, right? But it's also to get as many meeps as possible. It's kind of like a mini game, and it's always really interesting to see how our Bard players deal with kind of like the change of pace.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we have all but confirmed with those item slams that Jinx is indeed going to go for a mech style of play here, slamming that Titan's Resolve on the Bard. Really gives no other doubt or no other like direction in my mind for what Jinx could be going here. Ooh, 19 out of 20. Decides to level though.
Oh, the 3's worse than the 1. Oh no, I'm sorry. At least 1 is like more of a complete number. Anyway,
man.
Calm it down. My brand cannot be to be angry at odd numbers. All right. Anyway, I would love to kind of see our friend the Ham gang here in a second, because I think we're going to be sticking with this Bard for a while. And this is all of us sometimes. We've all been here where you're kind of like half cracking your neck and half resting, right? Just in case. This is a very common TFT position for me. But yeah, and the frustration too.
Yeah,
having a little bit of a hard time.
Visible tilt there from Ham gang.
Yeah.
I mean, 61 gold on 3-2 at 44 HP. You gotta do something with that gold there, Ham gang. You cannot keep losing like this. Has that Shaco with a Bloodthirster. Has a couple of Jarvans for Dark Stars. Yeah, levels to 6 here. Probably needs to roll, honestly, to stabilize. Sometimes you need to roll before you're level 6, or sorry, before you're level 7 or level 8, and you need to do that on level 6. Will Ham gang decide to do that, though? It's not looking like it, otherwise he would have started to do that already. Oh. No, okay, does roll like once, can still make it back up to 50 gold, not anymore, though, with that buy. Probably should put that in as well. Yeah.
I think maybe seeing that 7 right now forces some decision making sometimes, that you actually have a little bit of time, right? Just because we're still in that nitty gritty doesn't necessarily mean we have to take risks right now. I think rolling down would have been awesome, but now if he wants to get to that 50, he's going to have to sell another unit if he wins, but he won't. So are we selling the Karma? Are we selling the Nautilus? Probably the Nautilus to hit 50, but instead of potentially winning this round, right, we're now sitting at 35 HP if we had invested. But we do get a first go of it on this carousel, and we got some good opportunity here.
Yep, there's going to be that chain vest for the Guardian's Angel Shaco, and has the potential Runans or even ZZ Rot. ZZ Rot is really good for a supplementary frontline unit if you're going those Dark Stars, maybe even 6 Dark Stars. I see that comp being viable still nowadays. Couldn't need Ham gang to roll it down or even level and roll. I think going to 7 here and rolling actually isn't bad at all, because you need to stabilize at this point in the game.
I mean, if you don't stabilize, you're dead. You got 35 HP. Now is time to take risks, right? Now is time to spend a little bit of money. You can level up on the next round if you want. You've got a good amount of money. You still would be around 30 gold. But I think the hard part when you're in Ham gang's situation is to, again, not overspend, not freak out. But I think sometimes that paralysis makes it even worse. Sometimes it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm weak and I can't find these units. And sometimes the world hears that and is like, you will not find these units, sir. It's like saying 7 at the craps table, right? It's like, it just kind of brings it into existence. And when tilt is there, I really do, there's no proof of this, but I really believe it affects your play in that way. Is he's going to get walloped. on this round, at least as a Nico. So if he's able to find 2 4-cost units, or will get lucky and find maybe 2 1-cost, 5-cost units, there is some opportunity there.
Yep, there definitely is. I think the opportunity might have need to, again, just been not presented, but found earlier. You can't have opportunity if you're not rolling or spending the gold to do so. I think at this point, it wouldn't really be an overreaction. It would just be, now is the time to do so, but pre-levels to 7 regardless. Might actually even lose this round as well. We'll see. I don't feel like having the... I mean, I guess the Alawi puts in Battlecast and it's a bit of a frontliner. I would say maybe the Driven would be a bit better just to give that 4 Darkstar. You're not really going to be doing much without your Shaco being buffed up there. But going up against, who is this, Narkez? Yeah, it is Narkez with a similar composition. The only difference is that is a Jhin with the items instead of the Shaco. And Shaco seemingly winning that 1v1.
Yeah, but as the aggro changes, it's going to be a little bit harder as he's going to get hit by that 4th shot here in no time. And one more loss. We got 10. This is a nice even number. I like it, especially after today, right? And so now it's time to be spending some money. It is supermarket sweep right now for our friend Ham. And like, you got to go find the unit. You got to bring it back in 2 minutes, right? And at least you get a couple rounds. You got a little bit of respite from this being an NPC round, so that's just free money. So you don't have to roll until the next go round. But I know for me, I am the world's slowest roller, so I'm only able to get like 35 gold spent per round max. And so I don't want that to happen to him, especially now that he's coming on to some good-ish items. We could see a double rooted Zerkin. Why not at this point on somebody, especially since that did get buffed, as we're going over now, and we're going to be seeing Adrehhh working some Star Guardian magic, has some Vanguards, might be officially going that Star Guardian direction, and something we actually haven't seen a lot of today. Syndra seems to be very hit or miss in these tournament scenarios.
Yeah, I haven't seen that many people go for 6 Dark Stars. I know sometimes, like, looking at just, at some people's lol chests, looking like the top 10 players, seeing what they're running, and sometimes I have in the recently seen Star Guardians take lobbies, or at least top 2, top 3 in lobbies, but we get to witness it here in person with Adrehhh. It's not going to be working out in this round, at least, because he is going up against Ham Gang, who has found the Shaco 2, Ashe 2, Karma 2, and still has 50 gold. Put the RC on the Shaco. Yeah, might just be able to go to 8 on 4-3 and roll for those Jins. A player that we did see find the Jhin, though, is Mismatchedsocks. Found Jhin too, but I thought Socks may be going for that Master Yi playstyle. We see Socks' board address scouting it there. There's a Master Yi on the bench. What is Socks doing here? Is Socks just full pivoting? I don't know. Might want to check that out in a little bit here. But Treebeard finding that tier 3 Jarvan.
Yeah, and this is going to be really interesting because we still only have that tier 1 Syndra. We don't even have a second Syndra. It's on the board, but we do have that blue buff, and they're going to stack in terms of how many balls are going to be thrown.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a bulb. It's going to be a Chuck E. Cheese here in just a second.
Yeah, actually.
On the field. And it's actually seeming to work. This double Syndra thing has always been, like, I feel like a thing that people look at and it's like, maybe? Right? And because they do stack on each other. If that mechanic wasn't there, then it would just be 2 of the same unit, but they actually are helping each other instead. And that's really, really interesting. Kind of like Cross Pike was back in set 1.
Yeah, a little bit, but there's the Syndra 2, so we will not be seeing that double Syndra action anymore. What Star Guardian is Oh, Zoe is missing, actually, but it is on the bench, so not completely missing. Adrehhh has it here. 6 Star Guardians.
And I like that there's Vanguards here as well, because you're going to get the Mystic in just a second. It's so easy to splash a Mystic in this comp if you need it, right? There's really, I don't think anyone else going the Syndra build. If maybe there's like a big Gangplank or something and you need a little bit of extra defense to stay alive so you can get that Syndra to ult, then you're probably fine with that. But yeah, this comp is pretty much online now. Even though you've got like Ari1 and Zoe1, it's all about that Syndra. And we're going to be looking for some more items here for her. Since this is the first time we've seen this today, what are the itemization that we're looking for this Syndra?
Well, you're going to want to get that blue buff, of course, which he already has. A defensive item like GA, I think, is actually pretty good. Which maybe... Oh, actually, there's no components here. It is a full item carousel, as we see players scramble for what they need. Wait, did Socks actually pivot away from the Jhin into the BMs? He did. What a mad lad there. What a mad lad pivot from Mismatchedsocks. I am for it. I am for it right now.
You know, that's like, you know, sometimes I get here when someone's like, hey, where do you want to eat? And they're like, this fancy place or this fancy place. And I'm like, I want IHOP. Let's go there. And I feel like that's what, and I feel like that's kind of what Socks did, was he was at, you know, Le Cordon Bleu or something, or some fancy French restaurant with Jhin, because Jhin eats fancy food. But if we go over to our Bash brothers, if you will, and it's a little bit of a different story there, you know? I'm not sure Master Yi has the same kind of taste as Jhin does, you know?
Hey, I don't know, but regardless, it's a scary position to be in with 3 HP and on an 8 loss streak. Of course, Runaan's is the item that you need.
Let's see here. Will Master Yi join us for dinner a little bit later? Is Mismatchedsocks going to be able to capture a victory? And this is looking pretty okay so far.
Yeah.
We got that Runaan's Hurricane, again, was just buffed, so the extra bolt, I think, does 10 more damage than before. Redemption is another item that we're actually seeing a lot of, and now this is how you beat that Shaco, is CCing that Shaco, not letting him ult. But hey, I'd actually love to talk about this for a second. So Xscoundrel and EU Fight Nights were like, I do not like RFC on Shaco. It's a little bit, it makes him more random. What do you think about that itemization on him?
Making him more random is an interesting sentiment, I suppose. I don't think it's needed, but sometimes it is helpful. Honestly, I'm like pretty neutral towards it, to be completely honest. I think it can help sometimes, but it's not needed.
When was the last time you sold a Jhin 2, by the way? Have you ever?
Have I sold a Jhin 2? Wow, I actually don't think so. I know I've sold a Jhin 1 before as an item carrier, but then remade the Jhin later just because I slammed BT on it. And I was like, oh, I found the Shaco now. Let me get it back. But I don't think I've ever sold a Jhin 2. Socks, however, he's proven a point here tonight, if nothing else. And that is the fact that he is not scared to maintain his Blade Masters. That is his one and only goal here, and he is doing just that.
Yeah, and just to kind of get a glimpse of the lobby, too, Treebeard has 40 HP pretty much over 34 HP over simply Wojtek right now. And the rest, as I apparently go through puberty again, the rest is very, very close, other than Mismatchedsocks and Ham Gang, who's on fire. So this is a really topsy-turvy type of lobby. Because the last time we saw Ham Gang, you know, Finger was on the bridge, Deep Sighs had been had, you know, and things are a little bit different. I'm hoping it's good. And oh, thank you, Raditz. Another Fight Night Rising veteran helping out Mismatchedsocks there. But let's see where these items will land. Chain Vest. Ooh, that's a potential good item for somebody. A GA. Are we going to see Giant Slayer instead?
I mean, yeah, it's not going to be a Titan's Resolve. I think it's going to be a Giant Slayer there for the Master Yi. Unfortunately for Mismatchedsocks, the full Runaan's there off the carousel meant that the bow was stuck on the Yi, so you got to make do. Gotta make do with what you got there. It's not the worst, however. There is a leftover vest, though, not going to be gracing any of the units on the board, I believe.
Yeah. Ooh, nice tier 2 Riven to kind of round out this comp. Not something that you will necessarily see statted out unless you're on like Treasure Trove or something and you don't have anyone else to put items on, or you're playing Blade Masters for some reason with a bunch of AP items. But with like a lot of this healing, even though Master Yi got nerfed, this is still a pretty good matchup. But with Treebeard already at 2 tier 3 units, that's going to be tough to beat. And Mismatchedsocks going to fall in 8th, and that was probably the one person he couldn't beat. It was at Treebeard, but that goes to show how strong Treebeard is right now as CRHamtaro continuing that win streak. I mean, losing 10 in a row to winning 6 in a row, that is, I mean, that's pretty much how my brain works. One or the other, you know?
Yeah, and we do see those 6 Dark Stars, like we talked about earlier. The ZZ Rot wasn't going to be what was built, though, as the front line here is rather lacking. Oh, okay, interesting. Takes out the Fizz 2 with the 2.5 items. Shaco doesn't have Infiltrator anymore. Isn't being buffed up by Karma either. But either the Janna or the Xerath will be. There's a Deathcap Xerath with that extra rod. Is Shaco going to be enough to win without having Infiltrator buff?
Oh man, especially since the Syndra is going to target him very, very soon, and with that Lulu. Oh, but the ult though is going to help. Is there enough damage now for CRHamtaro to survive? Gets polymorphed again. I believe still has the GA, and I think CRHamtaro's got this. Yeah, so Shaco is fine. Doesn't even need the GA to proc. But again, that is just such a. This game is so rock paper scissory right now. It's really matchup dependent, and Treebeard even losing on that last round. Nobody is safe, Khroen. Nobody.
No, man. Darkstar is still so powerful, even with the kind of shaky start that CRHamtaro had here and the seemingly shaky recovery. It's only a Jin. Oh wow, okay, even sells that karma to level up to 9 there. But I was gonna say the shaky recovery and only having a Jin 1, but it does go to 9 on 5-3. Put that Xin Shao 2 in. Is almost remade the karma 2. Has the Zephyr to Zephyr whatever he wants here. Probably the Jace or the Shaco. Shaco's actually probably better there. Good call on CRHamtaro's part.
The Shaco needs to get on that Jin or that Ashe or Data. I had an opportunity to say that Ashe. I did not take it. But CRHamtaro is gonna be fine. This one with a frozen heart though actually is gonna be pretty brutal. Hand of Justice too. So like, okay. This brings me to a question. So something we talked about when it came to Hodge, I think it was not a very good, well-kept secret that Hodge was good coming into this, right? Again, because of the way it is, that's why you're seeing that extra healing coming in from that Shaco. Why ever build a Hextech Gunblade or a Bloodthirster at this point, right? Other than if you just have the components. Hand of Justice seems so strong right now. It's pretty nuts.
So the argument to not build Hand of Justice on Shaco is if it rolls damage instead of healing, because what you get from BT is you're always going to have the healing, and you don't really need the damage buff from Hodge on Shaco. Shaco's Deceive and Auto Attack already will be doing enough damage. You don't need more of that. It's really just a 50-50 when it comes down to it. If you roll the healing, it's going to be better. If you don't, it'll probably be worse.
Hand of Justice, man, I am excited to try it on literally everybody once we get done here, because I love losing LP. CRHamtaro was on a pretty big win streak. I mean, I think has been below 20 HP for 7-8 rounds now. Did just lose, but I mean, we're still kind of holding on right now as Mismatchedsocks has been sitting and watching due to selling a Gen 2, like early Gen 2, to go Blade Masters to prove a point. You know, I like the Moxie. Is we have our first mech player that we've seen so far today, which is going to be Jinxed. Titans resolved Hand of Justice on the mech, which is, again, another unit that's going to benefit from both AP and AD damage and kind of double stack it. And you're seeing, again, Hand of Justice just a very, very, very good item. But the Bloodthirster also pretty good for CRHamtaro. But once this mech pops,
actually we'll see a world where Shaco wins this. Yeah, Shaco is going to win this. Oh my. Jinxed falling there in 6th place, actually. Adrehhh going out in 7th. Hodge Mech, very good. Turns out, unfortunately for Jinxed, Shaco is better. I am very curious on why Ham Gang decided to not Zephyr the Mech there. Had the option to Zephyr the Mech or to Zephyr the Victor. Chose the Victor. Ended up working out though, so can't really fault them for it.
So, you know, another item that we actually don't see at all that used to be like really, really strong back in set 1 was disarm. So, you know, is it just because blasters aren't as strong? It did get a little bit of a buff, but why aren't we seeing sword breakers in general?
There's better things you can do with the components. If you're running blasters, red buff just kind of takes priority. You're going to want damage items on your Jinx. Unfortunately for Ham Gang here, does end up falling that round in 5th place.
That's a very good comeback, though. Very good comeback.
Yeah, it definitely is. 5th from that mid game, or that early game rather, is kind of a win in and of itself. Like, you're not going to get top 4, but sure, sometimes you just got to play for 5th.
Sure.
But
exactly. But just the components, right? They could be used in more beneficial, more impactful ways, because the sword breaker is also like an item that you don't get its use all of the time, right? It's still got the RG aspect to it.
Yeah, it's not like it was in set 1 where like disarms can like kind of stun the unit. You will still cast spells while being disarmed, which was one of the reasons why it was a lot better back in the day. Of course, people have not willingly built that item in so long now that they're like, all right, I guess we should buff it. You know, it goes from 25% to 33% chance to disarm now. Like, sure, maybe it's okay to slam on blasters if you happen to have the components and don't need any of them for anything else, but still not a very great item nonetheless, though.
All right. As Simply Wojtek finds himself in a very familiar position, and that is in the top 4. Like I said, one of the most consistent players, and honestly, looks a lot like Xpeke. Now that I'm
honestly, a little bit.
Now that I'm kind of looking at him a little bit.
Oh man, you're not wrong. You are not wrong.
Yeah. So, and he's sitting pretty. The top 2 here are feeling great. And Gunmay, like this is the Gunmay special. Like I said, he's always on the bottom, but he's never eliminated. And so he's going to be top 4ing this time around, maybe doing the opposite Gunmay, which is start a little slow and then get a little bit better as we move forward. As Thresh pulls in Urgot, the redemption not really doing much, and you know that's the damage mitigation that someone needed a little bit more of on that last round. As Treebeard is running away with this lobby right now.
Yeah, man, that Xayah got so low there, but was not taken out. If that Echo 2 was there for Wojtek last round, it would have swung the other way. But regardless, Wojtek has probably 2 lives left before he is eliminated. I think is a really good candidate to get at least top 2 this game, if not actually come back against Treebeard and win. Treebeard does have the goal to go to level 9 soon, though, so we'll have to keep that in mind as this game nears its end.
Whew, man, this is starting to get pretty dicey for everyone that's not named Treebeard right now. So anyone can finish in 4th place. Everyone already doing a pretty good job in terms of finishing in the money, at least for this lobby. And the funny thing here is this top 3, or this top 4, 3 of them were also in the top 4 last time around, I believe. So we're going to be getting some separation on our leaderboard coming up, as Treebeard is going to have a nice HP at 69. But Gunmay did get eliminated in 4th.
Yeah. Going from a 7th to a 4th is an improvement, but still not really the Gunmay consistency that we do know and love. Usually Gunmay comes out of the gates at a 1st or a 2nd in the first couple of games. But man, with the likes of the competition like Narkez, Wojtek, and Treebeard placing above you, you know, can't be too surprised. These players are playing very well right now.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if Treebeard's going to be able to maintain. You never know, especially at this point in time. I like the Trap Claw onto the Xerath. That's going to potentially give them enough opportunity to get a couple more ultimates off, but not enough damage, as this Vayne is absolutely crushing it. It really seems that the only comp that Simply Wojtek can't beat is Treebeard's, who Narkez beat, or someone beat, because he's at 51 HP. Might have even lost the Gunmay's Ghost.
It actually might have been... Yeah, it actually might have been Wojtek's Ghost because, that Echo 2 wasn't there before. I think what made the difference. We see Echo in these last two fights for Wojtek really popping off. Like, it's done. It did more damage in the Vayne 2 fights ago, and last fight almost did as much as the Vayne there. So it might just be an Echo diff here for Wojtek. How does Treebeard come back? Is it finding the Riven 3? It very well might be.
Put the bramble. I don't care. All right, we're having fun here. It's a game. Let's do a little bit. I mean, your team's not really going to get much stronger than it is right now. So
goes in the Jarvan.
Yeah, it's probably a better idea. But let's see what this Riven's able to do. I don't think I have seen a Riven 3 in a very, very long time. And definitely one of the tier 3 units that can get kind of stopped up if it gets a little too CC chained. But as of right now, the Echo's actually going to focus the Riven down. And if he's able to focus that Jarvan down again, it's going to be a little bit easier. But this is actually a very, very close match. This Vayne tumble, man, that loss of aggro is nuts when it comes to Vayne.
And very good unit. Could see that demonstrated right there. Treebeard is not out of it yet, however. I think there is still a lot of room for Treebeard to come back. Thresh on the bench could do it. I think repositioning a little bit might be able to do it. Wojtek there has his Vi positioned so that it will dash onto the Xayah. That isn't where the Xayah wants to be for Treebeard with that in mind, and does move the position here. So is aware of that. Wojtek with a good move from Vi to the other side, but is it going to make the difference?
Oh man, this is definitely evened up so far. The Frozen Heart on that Rakan actually not getting a ton of value as he jumps into his own back line. Will this Urgot be able to eat that Riven? No, because the Riven actually moves at the last minute. The Riven survives, so the Riven doing a much better job this time around. Will this Irelia bring it back? Will this Vayne be able to bring it back with no lifesteal? The answer is no.
Riven.
But we're going to get a couple more rounds here. This item may actually be a game changer, Bloodthirster for Treebeard. I wonder what Wojtek's got. I'm sure he's going to scout that out in just a second. But I believe Treebeard was our last winner. So this is our NA defending champion going up against someone who has been incredibly consistent on the EU side of things. And I'm so happy that Simply Wojtek is here to kind of show off, because in terms of players that Xscoundrel and I were very, very impressed with in the EU side of things, Simply Wojtek was definitely one of kind of like the younger players that we thought have an opportunity to make something happen. And I think they're proving themselves right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. The best of the best when it comes to the different regions here. And Treebeard getting that Irelia too. It all comes down to very, very slight positioning changes. And to a little bit of fight RNG, honestly. The tier 3 Riven now does have one item. It is a BT, so not great, but still, we saw the
still an item
last fight. Yeah,
still an item. And anyone with shielding benefits from lifesteal way more than someone without it, because you can heal through that shield. But the other really interesting thing here is no rebels. Right now we have Cybers versus Blade Masters. We don't have a Jhin on the field, so completely different final two. The Urgot's going to eat his but the Vayne's going to crit the Urgot and save him. And now it's going to be up to this Rakan and that Bramble to do it work, but he's going to get eaten up, and Treebeard will continue to lose in this. Or actually, this has been back and forth. So these trades are going to be better for Treebeard, as he had a little bit of a lead coming into this.
Yeah, is it going to remain to be a trade, though? Treebeard, the same thing happened with that Vi. Wojtek's Vi went on and sniped that Xayah alongside Echo to finish it off. Treebeard needs to be wary of that. Maybe even just move Xayah towards a more centered or middle position. I'm sure he is aware of what's happening to the Xayah. That's the main damage dealer. You got to be asking yourself, how is my main damage dealer, dead already in this fight? And yeah, it does move it. Wojtek doesn't move the Vi, so this might actually be really good for Treebeard here.
This is potentially our last fight. Echo is able to get one ult off. Will he be able to get another one? That mana bar is actually going to get filled, but he's going to fall because of a nice crit. And it looks like Simply Wojtek is simply dead right now, as that was a pretty great comeback from him. That he made that way closer than I think it needed to be. As Cybers finish in second place. Vayne's still a pretty good unit, but so many tier 3 units for those Blade Masters. It's just a little bit too much to cut through.
Yeah, man, Treebeard doing a great job there for 2 games in a row, going for that similar playstyle, that Xayah 3, hitting the Draven 3 as well. Doesn't even, roll on that level 4. I believe he went to level 5 pretty aggressively both times, but still was managing to be able to hit those 3-star 1 costs. Treebeard kind of with a little bit of variation to that style of play, but making it work. Got 3rd in game number 1 and got 1st this last game. So let's check out the scores real quick before we do go on break. And Narkez and Treebeard are tied for 1st place. Wojtek in pretty comfortable 3rd, and right behind Mismatchedsocks and Jinx kind of tied for 4th right now. Gunmay a little bit behind with 8 points, and Adrehhh and HamHam 5 points each.
Nice little separation from Narkez and Treebeard, and simply Wojtek as well. And that one from Mismatchedsocks is entirely his fault. He is entirely to blame for that 8th place. Just to kind of summarize what had happened was he came into this tournament saying, I'm going to play Blade Masters. Found a Jin 2 at 4-1, super, super early, and then sold it to put in a Master Yi, and then went up against Treebeard at some point, and then ended up getting a pretty fast 8th. But yeah, it's cool to see kind of the mixture of EU and NA talent here. It doesn't really seem like one region is doing much better than the other. But right now, it's been some really good, high quality TFT so far. It's been awesome to watch, just the amount of variation that the game has in terms of viable comps.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen a lot of those comps already, and I'm sure we'll see even more of them after the break, but we will be back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fight Night Rising. We have had a couple of great games so far and a couple more to go. Boop, how have you been enjoying them so far?
Honestly, it feels like these games have gone at lightning pace, but they haven't.
Yeah.
It's just like we've had a lot to talk about in terms of we've gotten some patch things, but it's really been more of the give and take and the interaction between a lot of these comps where we had Rebels win our first lobby and then not even make the top 3 in the next one. So that is one of the best parts about this is even though the patch was a little bit different and did bring some items into the equation. Those items have kind of brought Jinx and Shaco a little bit more ability to appear. Jinx definitely finding a lot more opportunity with, hey, I don't have an IE last whisper opportunity. Well, let me just go ahead and stack percent health damage with Giant Slayer and Red Buff instead, along with some healing mitigation. So that's kind of like the cool thing here is with the item changes, like these team comps can be very interesting because you don't quite know exactly where you're going anymore. As we saw Gunmay with 4 different item components that could have gone 18 different ways.
Yeah, actually. Could have made like a Shiv, Shroud, Titan's Resolve, Hand of Justice, like so many different things. And, so I chose to make the static shiv red buff in the end, but just goes to show you, this is still a meta that there are a lot of viable compositions. That has been the case last patch for sure, the patch previous as well, and continues to be into 10.16. So I'm liking it, especially from a competitor's standpoint as well, and as a caster's standpoint. It's a wonder, kind of like a very interesting thing to go into a game and be like, we could see one of like literally like 12 different comps right now. Like you're just on your toes. You got to adapt in the game. Got to adapt during casting. What are these players going? I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, Mismatchedsocks sold a Jin too. It was for the memes, but it happened. Keeping us on our toes, right? That attack speed nerf was huge. Just kidding. But the and again, Narkez has don't trust him, even though it says it. Those are not correct. They're close to being correct, actually, as he is in first place, tied in first place with 17 points. But the results have been a little bit different. But this has been one of those lobbies where our top 4 seem to be battling for the top 3 spots right now. And this is going to be a big lobby for Gunmay, for Ham Gang, for Socks, for example. They have to perform here.
Oh, yeah. For those bottom 5 on the leaderboards now, this is kind of starting to become that do or die situation here. If you get a poor placement this game, it's going to look really, really grim going into game number 4. But hopefully these players can kind of come out on the top half of the pack here. Obviously, Narkez and Treebeard already leading by a lot, but still, you get top 3, you get invited back to next week in Fight Night, and are a part of that prize pool. So it's what's going to be what these players are aiming for.
And like I say, every cast, anytime you can tell mom or dad or whoever is your legal guardian and say, I just made money off of video games. It's like one of the greatest comebacks in all of childdom, right? To tell to your parents. It's definitely something that is always going to be good. But like I said before, Simply Wojtek has a super supportive family. They were on stream the last time, or a couple times he was on, and it's just cool to see how this is becoming more and more of a serious opportunity for some of our younger players who have the means and availability to do something like this. And to see that kind of support again is absolutely wonderful. And hopefully, again, as esports, as we get a little philosophical here, esports grows, we get more and more of that. And as parents like us, like I'm 30 in 2 days, right? As my generation starts having kids, I think we're gonna find like as a music major, I was always competing against like 12-year-old prodigies. Right. And so I feel like that might happen in esports eventually too. And that might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I think actually that would be a pretty good thing. We talk about, the future and where TFT is going. There was even just a post by on the TFT Twitter earlier today with the roadmap of how TFT is going to look in the future. They have the plans for their set 4 launch, when that mid-set update is going to be, and for the World Championships, more esports. And Fight Night Rising is a huge kind of start to where a lot of these players are getting their first tournament experience. You get to Masters, You can sign up for Fight Night Rising. You can compete against players like Mismatchedsocks, known as one of the best North American players by far. Gunmay, been a tournament beast. He's taking a step away from TFT, but hopefully we will see him back in the future alongside some of these newer players who want to get into the scene. Now because of all this stuff going on, all these competitions, we're getting that set 3, end of kind of set worlds and worlds qualifiers soon. So a lot of exciting opportunities, a lot of exciting competition, and just glad to see it all propelling forward and just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and the other thing that will propel you forward is Gunmay has a Hextech Gunblade on his Darius.
On the Darius, something I mentioned earlier a little bit.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, if you think about it, latently, it's like making him a protector, kind of, right? Since Hextech Gunblade has overshield and the damage is all at once, you actually could potentially mimic a protector type of situation with a little less value, depending on how much health you have, or maybe even more value. As Narkez also sitting pretty with a blue buff on that Cassiopeia, could be different. That doesn't have to stay on that cast, just is there right now. But if we fall into some Star Guardians, if we maybe even do that mech with Victor, we have some options.
We do have options. I'm curious as to what the success of just maintaining this Cassiopeia, or what maintaining this Cassiopeia would look like for Narkez. That is a composition that, say, Aegon has, one of the great players in North America, that Aegon has used a lot recently. Even in the previous tournament in Mort Dog's Top 4 Madness, in the finals, Aegon went Vanguard Mystics pretty much every single game, and I think top 4 5 games in a row to end up winning the tournament. So Narkez definitely could use this Cassiopeia to some similar success here, potentially.
Yeah, and the Battlecast proc is so good on Cass and Kog'Maw. I mean, pretty much those are the 2 units that get the most value out of that proc. And with Cass, because it's damage over time, you get the healing, and you get, again, a word I'm using a lot is opportunity, and that's kind of like what you're seeking for in a lot of these matchups, right? The opportunity to win, even to lose if you're trying to int. And so with Narkez leading the way now in terms of points, you got to keep setting the pace here, because the top 3 pretty much guarantees a top 3 after the end of the last lobby. So everyone, again, in this lobby having something at stake, which makes this so incredibly important to do well, as you're seeing this cast utilize that Battlecast proc really
Everything's
well
dying. Yeah, Cass was at above 50% HP for the whole time, so our Battlecast procs were indeed the damage, and all the Cybernetics and Vanguards just died, slowly but surely. The Brawler frontline was pretty good. Narkez is going to be picking second, though. So that Rod on the other side there is what he's going to be looking at, and has it. Blue buff Morello is already on 2-4 for the Cassiopeia. This is such a good start for Narkez.
Oh my god. So I just thought of this. I'm sorry, everyone, for going on a tangent, but I've been playing a ton of Fall Guys, and if we could get Little Legends and Fall Guys, I would pay buku bucks for that partnership. I would pay $30 for that skin in Fall Guys, man. Could you imagine a mold? Anyway, back to TFT.
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool.
Right? That game creates this primal feeling in everybody. It's
really I've been playing it too. I've been enjoying it. I feel you.
And so yeah. Oh, and we're gonna commit to this cast right now. Perfect items, potentially a Teemo later. So that's like the maybe only other thing I can think of, especially since we have the brawlers in place right now, is Gnar. And Astro Snipers did get nerfed, but that was probably the strongest comp on the last patch. So it's just evening things up. Teemo's not as consistent in terms of being Teemo.
Yeah, even if we look at the nerfs to Astro Snipers, while it was the comp that was nerfed probably the most, the nerfs actually weren't like too bad. It's what, like 0.05 attack speed from Teemo, a little bit of a Jhin nerf too, but everything else is kind of still where it should be. The comp, I think, is still strong. We look at Narkez's items here and we say, yeah, maybe if Narkez rolls a Teemo, would consider the pivot. Does have the Nautilus as well. With this composition, it is easy to pivot into the Teemo, because I believe it was a sort of Korean style of Astro Snipers, where you do play 4 Vanguards, and that's a lot of interchangeable units there. or sort of similar overlap units rather with Vanguard Mystics, because you already have that Vanguard frontline. What direction Narkez will decide to go, we will see. But having 4 Battlecast right now in the early game is so insanely strong. So it's going to be a cast for now, at least.
Oh, but there is a not 2 and another Darius, this time with Deathblade Last Whisper. And Darius has slowly but surely gotten buffed a couple times within the last couple patches, as again, that Battlecast proc on that Cassiopeia just so strong. 3-game win streak. So we are in the money in terms of that 20 gold, and we're climbing our way up as Treebeard once again. You know Treebeard quite well. So has he always been such like a great starter here? Because that's something we've talked about in the past, which is we have some players who start really strong, develop such a lead that eventually it's just through the war of attrition they can top 4. But I don't feel like that's how Treebeard usually plays. Is he just having a particularly good day?
Yeah, I was about to say, not always does Treebeard do this, but I think this is a meta in the past couple of patches that is favoring Treebeard. Treebeard has seen a lot of success. The playstyle that he has kind of adapted to, a lot of times involving protectors, and as we see here, still protectors, he's able to do quite well with, and he understands style of play in perspective of the rest of the lobby, in perspective of just the strength of the units that he likes. It's so good, and Treebeard's able to do it so effectively. Has the Bard on the bench, and actually, okay, I guess it was the neutrals round. I don't know if he had the Bard in beforehand, but if we see a Bard on Treebeard's side of the board, you can expect it to be in there. Like, you can expect it to be played. He's even rolling down on level 6, finds a this is the Treebeard that we know. This is the Treebeard that we know and love. Is going to sell the Shojin Rakan, replace it, put that Shojin Runans onto that Bard. Gonna be farming XP. He's on 0 gold right now, but it doesn't matter. Treebeard's gonna farm XP, go to level 9, find legendaries, maintain his win streak, and it's just going to be carried on from there. Like, this is the Treebeard playstyle. This is what he's so good at nowadays.
Yeah, and again, he's okay with even. I mean, he might not. There's a possibility he wins a couple of these rounds because that Jarvan is pretty statted out right now, and that Zephyr was a really good pickup. But 4 meets, like, let's compare that against the last Bard that we saw, right, which was getting max 2 meets around, and we're already at 6, 7 now, and we also talked about how Bards love seeing Vanguards on the other side, right? Because it's not about doing damage and winning the round. It's a little bit of a mini game instead, which is how much experience can I get? And if you guys remember, you know, it was a little while ago, but when Nicoverse was still here, he popped a Bard in an orb, double slammed the Nicos, and won the lobby. So we know this Bard, at least for Treebeard, can do work.
This is why Bard got nerfed. Treebeard is the reason why Bard got nerfed. No, but I mean, really, it's unfortunate for Treebeard that he wasn't able to maintain the win streak, but he's going to take that sacrifice every day of the week when it comes to XP versus maintaining that streak. Treebeard isn't afraid to lose a couple of rounds for that Bard value, and he's going to maintain that Bard value into this round. He's taking a little damage from the Poppy over time, but he actually could end up winning this. No, never mind.
And it's another nerf you guys just saw. Chum the Waters does a little bit less damage with that ultimate in the end. Fizz was arguably one of the stronger units in the game. And so bringing him back to reality. But Blue Buff Jeweled Gauntlet, what a awful roll for that Jarvan. One of the items you really can't use. So, I mean, a little bit more attack speed, I guess, with the AP.
Yeah, but you cannot crit your attack speed buff there from Jarvan, unfortunately.
That turn everyone into a Blade Master real quick.
Hey, it'll go off pretty fast because the blue buff, and so that Bard will get into the Shojin state even faster.
Yeah,
it's definitely not great, but hey, you're going to be getting some value out of it at least. Going up against Narkez, who is 3rd place in the lobby currently. Mismatchedsocks actually sitting at the top, but
I believe wojtek at the bottom.
Yeah, haven't usually seen that for the past couple of days or couple of games rather.
I don't think I've seen Simply wojtek really hit last, other than he was in a situation where he needed to get 7th or higher in order to advance, and he got 7th. So I think that's kind of like the most I've seen him struggle in one of these in one of these tournaments, as Mismatchedsocks reverses his HP to 89 instead of 98, which means that he actually lost pretty heavily on that last round, going with Cybernetics, Mana Reaver, and any type of thing that has the Mana Reaver effect. So Ezreal and Shroud of Stillness also getting a 10% nerf, but still, anytime you can prevent someone from casting their ultimate, that will always be valuable, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be really valuable, especially here at the beginning when those ults are arguably more impactful.
Yeah, no, definitely. Irelia, pretty good unit. Hand of Justice as well, which I think has a lot of value on Irelia now, actually. I'm not going to be, having those gloves for that IE Last Whisper. But maybe this World War Hodge is even better. I'm not sure, to be honest. So I'd be curious to see how it performs here on Sox's board.
Hand of Justice, again, for those of you guys who are a little bit new to these patch notes, got a pretty major buff, making it so that all types of damage are going to provide that extra healing or that extra damage, depending on how it rolls. Some people, you can stack Hand of Justice, right? Yeah. And so
yes,
you can get... Yeah, you can get them doing different effects or stacking effects too. So I wonder if we'll ever get to that point, because remember when like Zeke's and Locket were so strong, you just stack 3 Zeke's and 3 Lockets on somebody. We'll see if Hodge makes it that way. It doesn't seem to be the case so far, as this Lucian gets bonked by the Vi. And Lucian's someone who's gone through a lot of changes, but still hasn't been able to see prime time just yet.
Nah, Lucian's kind of, ever since the addition of Vayne, Lucian's just that item carrier cybernetic, and you're going to swap those items over to that Vayne or the Aurelia or even the Echo later on. That's just kind of Lucian's role, unfortunately.
I mean, when you yeet your body into the enemy team, I like your Moxie, but you don't win off of Moxie in this game, or else Mismatchedsocks would have won that last long.
True.
So,
Gen 2 for Yi1 value.
And now with this Nikos, though, we potentially might be seeing a quick Yi 3, but we got to get some Yis first. And depending on how this goes, he's got a couple of the units. He's got a mishmash of directions to go, but right now we're seeing this Irelia trying to carry along with this Leona trying to soak up a lot of that damage, and the Lucian putting himself at risk here, taking the aggro from the Vayne. The Teemo also doing some good work. Snipers from Adrehhh doing a very, very good job. I believe we're going to go to Adrehhh next after this, as Mismatchedsocks sitting at a nice amount of HP and does not have the same type of momentum as he did at the beginning of this game, he has been kind of mishmashy right now with this comp, has changed it up for like the last 3 rounds in a row.
Yeah, he's just trying to maintain the strongest board until he's able to hit that Master Yi. I mean, there's no other reason that he's keeping that Yasuo and that Zed on the bench. Mismatchedsocks is committed. And I don't know if I would rather be admiring that commitment or scared of that commitment for Socks. I mean, he's on the top half of the lobby right now, so I can't fault him yet. But
the lobby's a little weak, though.
Yeah, the lobby is a little weak. If there's no bow here, which there is not, then it's cause to be concerned if you're Socks. He's kind of smiling there, but probably in not an endearing way. It's probably damn, I didn't get it. Didn't get the bow.
I feel like Socks is someone who on Vegas like gets there and 10 minutes later spends all of his money by putting it on red. Right, and then it hits red sometimes. And then, have you seen this episode of Futurama where Zoidberg puts it all on black or something like 6 times in a row, and then just keeps going until he loses? And sometimes BMs can feel that way. It's a very feast or famine type of composition.
Very true. Have not seen that specific one. I haven't watched Futurama in a very long time, but feast or famine, that is the perfect description of that Blade Master composition there. Caitlyn won. Caitlyn won doing work here for Adrehhh, actually.
Yeah, those items are all good items, especially when you're able to stack that Death Blade. And I'm actually going to falter here. We've memed on Kate 1 a couple times already, but again, with the sniper buff, you got the 4 snipers, you've got the Bard as well. So you're seeing Treebeard and Adrehhh try to move forward, but we're going to go ahead and change our itemization. Instead of getting Kate 2, we're going to put our items on Vayne instead.
Yeah. Unfortunately, while Kate 2 would be a good upgrade, there's no guarantee that you're going to roll another Caitlyn to replace her for that Jhin later. So just already making the preemptive swap now, putting the items on the Vayne, I think is a pretty good move there, pretty intelligent move. Adrehhh on 0 gold, though, really needs to be able to find a Jhin and another Teemo before he's really comfortable with the game state currently. Narkez, on the other side here, is going to... I was going to say take this round, but I'm not sure anymore, actually.
Yeah, that crystal arrow was huge there at the end. This Teemo with that Morello's is doing massive work. It was funny to see the cast in the back line literally just slowly walk over shrooms like I do on Summoner's Rift. But I got to give it to Moore. He gave us Teemo. He gave us Teemo, who, outside of some other characters, you could argue was the best unit in the game last patch. And those shrooms, man, I believe they also can cancel some ultimates as it is a knockdown. Technically,
can cancel Darius. That's a big reason why Gunmay doesn't play Space Jam anymore, actually, because of Teemo. I know he talked about the fact that he tried to recently. It was like, oh yeah, that's why Darius is kind of garbage. Teemo's a thing.
Exactly. Oh yeah, that's right. And it's funny because for the longest time on Summoner's Rift, Teemo was the counter to Darius. It was very, very funny how that all works out. But this Teemo, now that we are on the other side of the map, actually wins. Huge victory now from Adrehhh, and this is a big deal because he had no gold, right? He was trying to hit. He rolled down to 0. He got the Teemo, but nothing else. But the Gnar is there if he wants to finish out some of his units. If he wants to take that Bard out, he could potentially grab it. It doesn't have a very good item on it, but there is a Jhin, like you said, with a bow.
Interesting, because you wouldn't be able to just put all of those. No, it needs the tier, actually. The tier is way too important. Blue buff Teemo. Forgot that he didn't already have that, so that's always takes precedent here in this situation.
And now it's this is make or break for Adrehhh, and you can kind of see it in his body posture and the way he's focusing right now. It's this is a very intense moment, especially when you're below 10 gold. If you win this, you get to sell your Caitlyn and finally hit some interest. But this is the time to win streak. You've invested, and now you got to get something out of that investment.
Yeah, exactly. And the investment results in a tier 2 blue buff Morello's Teemo, and that is quite the reward for that said investment. Hopefully Adrehh's able to translate that.
Did you see the Darius 3 from Gunmay?
Oh, I actually didn't. I was too focused on Adrehhh here, but Gunmay 27 HP. I want to take a look at his board as soon as we can after this fight, perhaps. See how good or how bad it is, perhaps.
With the Darius 3, we shall find out. Huge Victor ultimate, but some really, really great CC and just the timing not in Jinxed's favor. But Adrehhh doing a pretty good job stabilizing. This is going exactly to plan if you're Adrehhh. I mean, the risk is paying off. You got the Teemo. As we're over to Gunmay now, we've got Darius 3 won the last round. Remember, I believe Gunmay is the only person to ever win a Fight Night Rising lobby with Space Jam. Are we going to see it again with 27 HP, a Hextech Gunblade? Will Darius survive into the top 4? We shall see.
Gunmay, I admire the perseverance. He's already a little bit behind. He said, screw it. I'm going to go out with a bang here. I'm going to try to make Space Jam work one last time. It's not looking like it, though, but Darius 3, we'll see.
Yeah, Darius 3 does a ton of damage, and you saw... Oh, no. He already gets the GA popped. Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. Reminds me of that video. It's just like, you want it to work, right? I would love to see this thing pop off, but unfortunately the itemization's not perfect. And the Hextech Gunblade really showing why we still need a little bit more adjustment to make something like that work. The GA is nice, but we got to get a little bit more. He's the one that needs a little bit more moxie, not the Lucian, you know?
Yeah, boop, this ain't it.
This ain't it, Khroen. This ain't it.
This ain't it. He is 13 HP on Raptors. The next lowest player is Wojtek with 34. Jinxed with just a little bit above that at 38.
Makes quick
These
work of the
items,
NPC round, though.
yeah.
Ooh, that did not help.
I honestly think that the best thing for Gunmay to do right now is to remake Jace 2, sell the Jace on board, put Death Cap on the Darius, find the tiered 3s of Rakan, Xin Chao, and then level to 7.
All right.
He's
this
actually,
is the first, this is going all right. Oh,
okay.
huge pickups
All right.
there.
Okay.
All right. This could be it, Khroen. This could be it.
Okay. Mix Locket Ludens instead.
It's all right, I guess.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
And the overheals are actually helping out this time around. We'll see exactly how much healing. Oh.
The Darius can't do anything, though.
Because of the Teemo on the other side. Oh, poor thing.
Poor thing. Is Gunmay dead? No, okay, he's not dead here, but he's close to it.
We got a little extra ZZ Rot action as well. Gunmay giving us a little bit of a show right now in terms of some fan service, right? This is a little bit more like the new Star Wars than the original, right?
Yeah.
But that totally worked because this was Space Jam, unintentional, by the way. But
that was good. That was good.
Thank you. The moral of the story here is sometimes most of the time, slamming Hextech Gunblade on your Darius to start is probably not best case scenario for you. And we can meme about it all day, but this comp is pretty much as strong as it could be. You got the Wukong too, you got the Xin Zhao, and we got another Teemo. So this Darius is going to get his whole handled. Oh no! Look at him getting juggled. It's like a trampoline park. Oh,
this is look at it. He actually just can't get an ultimate off.
And Gunmay lands.
This is why, boys and girls, we don't play Darius. This is why. Gunmay, the best Space Jam player in the game. But what we just saw there, that was gross.
I cannot believe
in a not good way.
It's one of those things where you don't know, I feel like, until you read the flavor text. Like there are some things that are like hidden in the game where you're like, oh, that's why. And reading the words knocked down on those Teemo shrooms will unlock a whole world of understanding, I think, in terms of why that did not work out. But that is the definition of a feels bad. I would have loved to see that work. Because I mean, Space Jam is so fun to see, but he goes up against 2 Teemos in a row, and that's just not gonna happen for you.
No, unfortunately, it's not. And Gunmay does go out in 8th. I believe also we have another elimination. Jinxed goes out in 7th place. Jinxed not able to really turn it up here, at least for game number 3. As we move into stage 5. Carousel, full items. Wojtek getting that GA. Adrehhh getting a Giant Slayer.
Yeah, Wojtek having a little bit of a hard time. Actually, this opens up 3rd place. If Wojtek finishes where he's at right now, opens up 3rd place for almost everybody. It evens out the scoring because Narkez and Treebeard have such a lead right now. Yep. They can take even 2 5ths in a row, for example, but Wojtek doesn't have that type of leeway. And we really need to see Wojtek find a little bit more success as we move through if he wants to continue his good position in 3rd place. And he might be able to stabilize. They did last time, I believe, with a low amount of HP. But in terms of the lobby now, Mismatchedsocks now on fire, probably has those BMs online. Treebeard in 1st place, but this is a much tighter lobby than a lot of our other ones where Treebeard was ahead by 60 HP at one point in our last lobby.
Yeah. Bit closer indeed. Just the repositioning there from Adrehhh. And Adrehhh doesn't have Jhin yet, but is it going to be enough to go against Mismatchedsocks and those BMs? I don't know. The Teemo is starting to do things, but gets taken out pretty quickly there. And it looks like the Master Yi is going to be alive to clean up.
Yeah, gonna be doing a nice cosplay of the Merry Maids, cleaning up the rest of the field. And It is pretty satisfying to watch that Master Yi work, though, in terms of, fantasy and like appreciation as a viewer. Seeing the Master Yi kind of sweep things up is pretty satisfying. So I'm glad that we have a viable Blade Master comp again, because it took a little fine tuning in order to get it to where we are right now, and I think it's in a pretty good spot. As you see, Mismatchedsocks will go on a win streak and then lose 3-4 games in a row at the end, because I feel like, again, like we said, this Blade Master comp so feast or famine. Is the Giant Slayer going to make Teemo do pretty much true damage at this point?
Yeah, even more so. Actually, after this next Kane round, we do want to take a look at Mismatchedsocks' comp. But for now, we see Teemo v Teemo with wojtek. But it seems like wojtek is the weaker of the Teemo players here and might actually get eliminated from it. But no, survives on a sliver of HP here. Literally 1 HP, as Narkez does fall in 5th place there. Sucks. He's on an 8-win streak. I wanted to take a look at this because look at Master Yi's items right now. Runan's, Death Cap, and Warmogs. If that Warmog's an RFC, it'd be like, oh, okay, standard Master Yi. This is looking great. But he doesn't have that. He instead is playing BMs with whatever he can get and is going to level 9. Puts 3 Cybers in, puts Thresh in as well, gives 3 items to the Adrehhh. Adrehhh is an integral part of why he's winning right now. Sox is very intelligent with his approach to this Blade Master playstyle. You're not just rolling for every single tier 3 you can get with the Shen, the Zed, the Yasuo, and the Yi. You're taking the game as it comes, and he's doing a very, very good job at that. Is even in the lead and on an 8-win streak. Finds the Echo 2 as well. Like, this is such good play from Sox.
Yeah, and if you guys want to... I think what Sox is best at, right? And we can meme on that Jin play, but the thing about Sox that I've always respected about his play is he's one of the best decision makers, right? As I will like falter and be like, maybe, and then it's like the next round I'm dead, right?
Yeah.
Fox will just make a decision and then learn about the consequences later, right? And I think there is a world where that's actually a really great way to analyze this game. I mean, there's a reason why Sox is so well known about analyzing team comps and his opinions, right? And the biggest thing with Sox here is, again, that decision making to go Blade Masters every single time, but also it's a little different every single time, right? It's like the difference between like an apple pie and like another type of pie that I'm blanking on names of pies right now, but it's kind of like the same thing. All the pies are good and they're all going to be satisfying, but one's going to be better than the other. And right now, with no RFC, we're experimenting on whether we even need that item right now, because he's doing fine. I think sometimes players can get trapped into, this is how we've always done it, right? We need a RFC, and when new patches come out, this is the time to try something new.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, and it's working out here so far. After this fight, maybe wojtek will be eliminated here, is on 1 HP. And yeah, the Blade Masters are actually just running through the Astra snipers, and that's usually a counter. It is going to be Astra snipers to that Blade Master composition. Generally does very well, but not well enough. Sox being level 9 has all these synergies in there, has the Echo too. wojtek did get out in 5th place there, and Gang snuck into the top 4. So better placements every game. Got to give it up for Gang for this one.
That's actually a really great way to sneak into the top 3 at the end of the lobby, too, is to just be consistently climbing your way up. I remember there was a player named Dreamerica who got who got last, second to last, and then first, like 3rd or something like that, and almost made it into the top 3. So it's not... This style has found success in this world before, as RFC is being shown. I mean, there is also an Echo too, but RFC is not required when you have these components around. Yeah, and that's game. It's Mismatchedsocks proving that RFC is not a viable item. I'm just kidding. But Mismatchedsocks does win the lobby again with Blade Masters. He's probably holding his head, because I don't know if he wanted to prove this point as hard as he's proven it so far, but we might be living in a world of Master Yi still, as no one seems to be able to counter it just yet. As you said, even the counter did not do well.
Yeah, there's a couple things I wanted to go over, and you actually reminded me of that by calling up the name Dream Erica. Dream Erica is a notorious cybernetic forcer, and she does pretty well with that. You know, she almost got into the top 3 with those last couple of games of playing when she did compete here on Fight Night. But what Sox is doing right now is being a BM forcer. But the thing is, when people who decide to force one specific composition, you're going to play it at such a better level than everybody else. If we look at the pivots from all 3 games so far that Sox made, going from one composition playing strongest board to having those Blade Masters in, they were widely different. And Sox's, we talk about and we praise his decision-making abilities. It's why he's able to first place in a game like that, because he was able to just have such a strong board and make pivots that nobody else would, or would be scared to, at least, and very hesitant. But just like you said, Sox just pulls the trigger, worries about if it's going to work out or not later on, but says, this could be it. I'm going to, with this calculated approach, he's saying to himself, I'm going to do this and it's going to work. And that confidence is so necessary, especially when you're going into the Worlds qualifiers in a couple of weeks, where he very much wants to give the impression of himself that he's just going to be a BM forcer. He's not only going to make it easier for himself, but learn all of the ways to get to that point to make him one of the biggest threats in that tournament.
And as we look at the scores, the other thing about forcing one type of compositions, you actually learn how all of the other compositions interact with that, and you learn more about them yourself. As Mismatchedsocks has an 8-1-10. Classic Blade Master lobby. Yeah, that's the feast or famine, right? But Treebeard at 24 points, I believe he's guaranteed. Yes, if Adrehhh wins the next lobby, he still would finish behind Treebeard. So Treebeard has already qualified for next week and has a 4-point lead over second place Narkez, who has been doing the opposite of the Ham Gang. Mismatchedsocks is going to be in third at 19, and simply Wojtek rounds out our top 4 at 16. But Adrehhh also still in the running for the top 3. Everyone kind of looking up. Narkez vulnerable as well.
Yeah, definitely a little bit vulnerable. This point gap with that bottom 4 finish there, point gap growing slimmer and slimmer. Gunmay unfortunately rounding out at the bottom there. That Space Jam was not able to make it. So Gunmay is out of the running for being qualifying for next week, but hopefully it can send us off with a very entertaining game 4. Do want to see what he is running at some point during that.
Well, you can't retire if you top 3 Fight Night Rising. You got to come back next week. So maybe that's why we're kind of seeing this showcase of gun. Like, it's kind of like we're seeing like Gunmay's history through TFT, which is just play Space Jam every game. Don't, because I hated seeing Darius falter that much. Poor Darius,
that Darius versus the TO matchup, it was so just disheartening to watch. It just, I cringed with how much that Darius was not getting to play the game. It was,
Yeah, and so now, as Mismatchedsocks misleading with his results as well, we get Plunder Planet, the only galaxy today. And I think this went through a little bit of change over the patch, but just for everyone at home, the money evens out over the game. So there are some people that will get a lot of money earlier on, and some people who will get the money later on. For you, if you had your perfect world, how does Plunder Planet work for you?
Perfect world. How's Plunder Planet work for me? I win streak for all of stage 2 and just farm all that gold and maintain my win streak there and just get an econ lead. It'll even out over the course of the game, but starting off with that much more gold, so you're able to generate interest a lot earlier, is just so much more value.
Yeah, and I think that's just kind of the basic thing. You want to start with the gold, because in terms of that value, because you have more gold, at the end of the game, each piece of gold is a little less important, just like the meeps, right? 2 meeps at level 3 is much different than 2 meeps at level 6, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And Mismatchedsocks is the one playing Feast or Famine. And right now, just 1 Blade Master on the bench, but there will be 6 of them by the end of his game right now, as we start off on Mismatchedsocks. Really, what we're looking at is how he pivots from some of these other compositions, right? Because pivoting is something that is one of the make or break in terms of professional TFT. You have to be good at it, and that's between like great and bad players, right? And he's going to be pivoting from literally whatever into Blade Masters, and that's very, very fun to watch.
He already has a Master Yi and a Shen. He already has 3 BMs. We don't need to pivot if you start the game off with all the units. They're already right there.
And so, yeah, speaking of decision making, that's an easy decision to make. If this happens to you guys, especially with a glove on the side too, where that can build into a couple things that you could use, you're sitting pretty. Especially with Shen in the early game, that ultimate, especially really early on, can be hyper valuable. But if he gets a bow, like 2 bows here, like I'm ready to call it.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately, it's a belt. And unfortunately for Socks, he did not start the game with a bow. Someone else actually had taken it. I am not sure who that was, but someone else on the list. These are some awkward items to start with for Narkez. I'm not going to lie. I would be hesitant to slam a lot of this as well, but if you're going to slam something, I guess it would be Hand of Justice. It's just... Do you slam the Zephyr then? Probably not.
Well, I don't know if maybe I'm making an inaccurate observation here, but it seems like a lot of our players are slamming a little less often at the beginning. They're seeming to be a little bit more intentional about lose streaking.
I think so too. Yeah.
Because Gunmay kept his items on the bench. We're now seeing Narkez do the same thing, which I feel like in previous patches, you slammed your items no matter what you had, right? Just to get that win streak, whether that be Shroud of Stillness or Infinity Edge, right? You had items, but Narkez is going to continue losing, especially since he's going to be inherently weaker than the people who don't that do have items on those units. But now we've got a Zoe 2. If we get like a Ziggs 2, Hand of Justice could potentially go on him. But as of right now, I actually agree with keeping those items on the side and inting right now to kind of just see where I land by this next carousel or MVC round.
Yeah, I think that is a very accurate observation there that you just made. I think players are generally leaning towards saving those items and getting what it is that they want later on, as opposed to just opting for that initial power. Lose streaking is still pretty good. There's a lot of options that you can go with items, but on the opposite side, we see wojtek here making a very early decision to go for that QSS and probably going to go for a mech here. Already has that Ziggs too for that Demolitionist. Rumble is a good early unit anyway, and it's working out. wojtek winning the first 2 rounds here.
Yeah, and before coming on today, I was like, we're going to see wojtek play some mech, so we'll see. And I think it's a really great time for him to do it, especially since he's competing for that top 3 spot with Mismatchedsocks. And so we actually saw a mech do quite well against a Master Yi a little earlier on today. Or actually, that was against the Shaco, I believe. But same kind of concept, right? Same kind of, attack damage, even though it's going to be a little bit more bursty from that Shaco. The mech might be able to stand up to this Yi just long enough, as we're seeing like even Hand of Justice on mech at this point.
Oh yeah, we saw 1 mech earlier. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more mech. I think mech is very strong right now and should be pretty prevalent in terms of strength in the meta. We will be seeing it this game most likely from wojtek, so it'll be fascinating to see that later on. Treebeard already making items for blasters, though. We don't see Treebeard go a blaster style of play very often.
I remember, I know Treebeard as kind of like that set to egg roll guy, but and so maybe as we move forward, I feel like you can spend a lot of money early on blasters. I think that upgrade to Graves Blind at level 2 is one of the more understated upgrades to some of our units from a couple patches ago. There's nothing more infuriating than being next to a grave and not doing damage to him.
Yeah.
But now that we are also expecting more money, how does that change in terms of compositions? Because we could potentially go for Piba now that we know we're going to get a little bit more income.
Oh yeah, ramping up your income early on means you'll be able to say go level 7, level 8, level 9 even faster, or more reliably in these games. So you are more likely to have success going that sort of Piba playstyle and having a comp of just legendaries. I think that's again a super accurate assessment there. Even early game, you could decide to roll down gold to maintain something like a win streak. If I look at wojtek's board here, don't really need to roll down, but some players may opt to go that sort of style. where they don't need to roll down, of course. But players like Pult, we've seen do that in the past to some pretty decent success. Is that the playstyle that's going to be good in this meta? Arguable, maybe not, but the option is there.
And so simply wojtek hitting pretty now in first place. This is what, this is kind of how EU Fight Night Rising usually went with guys like wojtek and Narkez, who is in last place right now. Started off very, very strong. We'll see if that kind of downward trend continues. It's a little too early to tell right now, but simply wojtek will start developing a good amount of a lead, and that's going to be really good for him as he win streaks, gets to that 10 HP, and is now looking to maybe complete that mech, especially if he sees the Annie, or definitely the Fizz. He'll grab it in no time. And with the Quicksilver, that's an all right item for that mech, especially nowadays with the amount of CC in the game.
Yep, definitely. QSS always been a good mech item. You don't have to worry about Zephyr. You don't have to worry about any CC. It gives you dodge. We might actually see wojtek go a dodge mech here. Was considering already slamming that Trap Claw, but did put the belt on the Rumble. What else is belt going to give you for mech? Nothing else really great. So I think it will be a dodge mech.
Dodge mech is a fun one. We got some infiltrators as well, so we might be seeing that kind of mech infiltrator start, moving on to our Victor mech a little bit later. That seems to be the more popular version, as wow, these brawlers just really, really beefy. And also we've got our Blade Masters, as Mismatchedsocks is going to win another round. At this point, I would love to see like the entire lobby just counter Blade Masters and just see what happens. But there's too much at stake right now for some of our players.
Definitely a little bit too much at stake. They want to be victorious. They want to get that invite back for next week, get that $100 first place prize, etc., etc. But Socks, 96 HP, top of the lobby, rolled into that Master Yi in that neutral box. So at the beginning of this game, it's in a good spot, even with no bows currently.
He didn't even need the honor scene last time. I mean, he had a lot of just very, very good units on the field to compensate for the lack of attack range, because he was so protected and everyone else was beefy enough to keep getting that defense going. But now we potentially have a Morello's awful item round there for wojtek. Oh, wait, that tier was hiding behind the Rumble, who that mech looks a little disturbing when Rumble's out. Who's controlling the mech when he's dancing?
Who knows? I don't know.
My immersion.
The TFT gods, a League of Legends lore has always been all over the place. They'll just make a justification for it. It's programmed to do so or something. Don't worry, it checks out.
Yeah, the summoner is there to do it. I'm totally cool with accepting it. But yeah, this is a simple thought. My brain works in mysterious ways. My friends and family are still trying to figure out what to do with it. Simply wojtek, only losing to Mismatchedsocks so far, is waiting to sell a couple his units to see if he wins or not. That Rumble ult actually getting a lot of value, but again, too much beef on the other side for now. Those gunslingers, those vanguards doing a lot of work, but look at this hand of justice. That TF staying alive way too long for where he's at in the game.
Yeah. Definitely. I like the decision there from wojtek to sell that Cassiopeia. It is a unit that you do want for your level 7, level 8 mech composition, but you don't need it yet. So choosing to make Econ, I think there is a smart move from wojtek. Finds the Annie, just needs the Fizz now. Levels up, puts those Sorks in with the Annie, can sell the Blitzcrank, could get back up to 30. In a decent spot here. I do actually want to check out Gunmay, who's on a bit of a win streak and has a Darius in, but also has the Lucian too with the Shiv. I think just to being the item carrier there for later on Echo or something of the sort, perhaps.
Yeah, and this kind of setup, especially early on, your 3 cybernetic, 2 vanguard setup used to be like how you played this set back like way early on. Is just like you started 2 vanguards in the land of candy. That's kind of where this reminds me. But we've also got the Graves, which is going to be attacking that backline. That's actually a really big deal. That Xayah should be blind once we get to that ultimate, but it's not even going to matter as we're not even going to need that smoke just yet. Gunmay also getting a lot of money in that round because of the Space Pirates.
Yeah, Pirates and Plunder Planet generating a lot of gold here. I was able to get a pair of Fioras. Maybe opting to throw that Sirach in now, being like, hey, this has already made me a lot of money. I just need to win so I can win streak these rounds. But maybe thinks he's strong enough as it is with those upgraded Vanguards, Ionic Spark, and upgraded Lucian already. Pretty fairly early for that. So,
all right.
confident
Okay.
enough.
So basically, Gunmay can't top 3. So this is potentially his last game. But if he wanted to retire, you can't top 3 on Fight Night Rising. So, knowing Gunmay, we could definitely see some pirates, but we could also see something nutty at the end, because right now I think we're kind of just in a showcase of Gunmay's potential retirement. Again, it's just see you later, no goodbyes, at least for me, for Gunmay after today. Hopefully we see Team IKEA reunite. It'd be great to see them all at IKEA after COVID is done.
True.
Just having a little bit
some
of a
prime
field
TFT
trip.
Content.
I know, right? Pretending to play TFT on the computers there or something. And man, I love IKEA when I'm by myself. I don't like the pressure of going with somebody else.
It's a massive, it's a world of its own, IKEA, that's for sure.
It's almost a theme park. It's just a theme park you could buy furniture at. As we are on our 3-4 carousel, this is when like the nitty gritty starts happening. And now this is our last lobby. Things are really big for Mismatchedsocks, for Simply Wojtek, for NarkezTFT too, who cannot afford another bottom 8, bottom 7 finish, because then that gives us an opportunity, gives someone else an opportunity to sneak into that top 3 spot. Treebeard also sitting pretty, but I'm really, really excited to see kind of the rest of this lobby attack Mismatchedsocks, because we're sitting at 69 HP and we're starting to transition. We got some Thief's gloves. I found out it's not Thieves gloves, it's singular Thief's gloves. It's the one glove. And we're seeing these Blade Masters again.
I feel like I'll always just say Thieves gloves.
I know, right?
It is what it is. But
all right, Mismatchedsocks, last place. Khroen, let's see how he's going to do against Jinxed.
Man, I don't know. Socks' pivots here. He's obviously going to be going those 6 BMs, but has slightly pivoted here to put in 3 Cybers. Has that Thief's gloves, Irelia, but it's not good enough for versus Jinxed in that Shojin Runan's Ash. That will be taking the victory there. Socks went from win streaking all of not all, but 4 out of 5 rounds of stage 2 to now losing 4 rounds of stage 3, maybe even 5, probably 5, looking at the strength of his board here, but needs to get a bow off of Infiltrator round, off of those neutrals, needs to find or roll down and find that Yi2 to really stabilize. You don't see QSS as a very stable item for Yi anymore. You more so opt into having RFC Runans and then going either Jeweled Gauntlet, Death Cap, something of the sort there to give him that extra AP. But QSS, while it is good, maybe you just don't have the slots for it to really justify going for it.
Well, my idea is maybe last round was like RFC, see you later, and now you're using the QSS to get in their face a little bit more. But that
honestly
could just
maybe
be, yeah. I mean, he's obviously been min-maxing this comp today, and he's been going a bunch of different directions. Has itemized the Yi 3 different ways so far. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next iteration is to just go full melee and just kind of see what happens. And at 85 gold, I don't think I've ever had 85 gold in this game, by the way. And
then you like that roll button.
Oh, I love that roll button, man. I love it. But this is why Socks is here and I'm over here, right? Because they're able to manage this economy so well, and we still don't have a Master U2 though. We're at level 7, so you have the highest chance of rolling into your 3 costs at this point in time. So we'll see what happens, but I've definitely seen, like, even if no one's contesting it, sometimes the game is like, screw you, as we do get another bow. Screw you, we're just not going to give you any Yis.
Has the Yasuo 2, Fiora 2.
right, we're looking for that Yi.
Shen 2, Xayah 2.
All right,
Everything else
what
too,
we need.
even Aurelion Soul.
Even got the 1%. I don't know for sure if anyone's competing with him on this Blade Master comp right now, but he's going to go ahead and sit at 49 gold, not roll any further. Upgraded his team quite a bit, even gets the Rebel buff. So Mismatchedsocks definitely not out of it. Might have actually been able to stabilize without that tier 2 Yi.
Okay, yeah, it does end up going RFC, so we're not going to see any crazy variations, any crazy builds with the melee Yi here, at least for this game. Maybe in the future, though, as I do think that you are onto something with that in mind. But pretty standard here.
Yeah, and he ends up winning it out anyway. So maybe stabilizing, and again, feast or famine, first or last, right? It is exactly. It's happened in his results. It's happened in this lobby as Yi2 does make an appearance, and so now it's all about finding the last 6 Yis. We actually haven't needed the tier 3 Yi to win so far, but I think everyone's getting kind of. They're realizing what's happening here with Socks, with these Blade Master comps. But we've got Gang in 7th, Gunmay in 6th, Simply Wojtek in 5th, and Jinx doing a little bit better in 4th.
Yeah, I wonder if Socks will decide to stay at 7 or go to 8 per usual, but we will find out a bit later as Jinx goes up against Narkez. It is Ashe versus Ashe, but one of them has Rinans, one of them has a Hodge, and the Hodge is tier 2. Or the Ashe, rather, holding the Hodge is tier 2. That healing. Oh, boy.
I'm pretty sure that healing is why that Ashe survived that Caitlyn ultimate.
Yep.
And so, Hand of Justice. It could be just the put it on anyone item. You know, sometimes we get those. Like set 1 Gnar, which was just do whatever you want with this unit. You can kind of do a bunch of different things. So flexible, but I'm a tad bit concerned. I like the idea of the item, but it does seem a bit on the side of strong right now.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And thinking about the other items that were changed for a second, at least another one of the items in Static Shiv, Jinx has the opportunity to make Static Shiv right now, which would synergize with Ashe herself. Because she does CC hits. I was actually, this isn't original. I can't claim credit for this. I was actually talking with Faye, a good friend of mine, and also a writer for giantslayer.
The original Fight Night Queen.
The original Fight Night Queen back in the day. Faye was the Fight Night champ like 3 times in a row or something.
That's where the 3-week curse came in.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's
how old it is. Not really. It's been a while. It has been a while. Some good times. But she gave the idea of maybe you throw that Static Shiv on that Ashe there and have her proc the true damage by herself.
That's a really fascinating idea, especially if you actually get the Rage Blade instead of the Hurricane with that Shojins, and you're cycling those infinite crystal arrows and weaving in those Static Shiv procs. That definitely can stack up. But is the base AD for Ashe enough to make that worthwhile? There are definitely other people who have better base stats, but can't enable this item individually as good as someone like Ashe.
Yeah. It's a big question mark. We'll find out. Maybe. Probably not. Probably Jinx isn't going that. Otherwise, we would have slammed it, obviously, a while ago. But has a Janna, actually, with that rod. So, probably would just play that. Sell the Ashe. There you go. We'll never know.
Janna got a tier 3 buff.
Yeah, 1.5 to 8 seconds.
Yeah,
who's getting a tier 3 Janna? Let's be honest.
Who's spending 15 gold on a tier 3 Janna? And who's letting you get a tier 3 Janna? You know, but I would love to see what those tornadoes look like, knocking them up for 8 seconds. But that's only just like a little piece of it trivia, as we actually have a very expensive comp online now for a Jinx. Shroud of Stillness is there. Urgot with Janna. This is looking like we got protectors right now, but this mech is gonna get eaten by that that tier 1 Urgot. That is one of the more feels bads that you can experience as a mech player.
Urgot's a toxic unit. Even after the nerfs. I think obviously Urgot now is in a way healthier state than he was on Urgot's release. but is still a unit that definitely feels bad to run into, especially when it eats your whole entire mech, who is reliant off of that Hodge healing, but not able to get that there. We do see Treebeard. Treebeard has a lot of 3 stars here, is even close to that, what's it called, that Malphite as well, and has a Nico.
This is a little egg rolly / like hype, like old school gunslinger type of build, as we get to see Wojtek again stalking us over here as the Hand of Justice is potentially gonna be much better against this particular comp. Yeah, the mech is gonna make quick work of these tier 3 units. And what was like the biggest difference? Why did the mech struggle so much on that last round versus this round where it was super easy?
I mean, Urgot diff, honestly. It's really what it comes down to. But yeah, Treebeard's comp isn't quite at its final form yet. You need to go to level 8, find that Urgot for that 6 battle cast, and then with 6 battle cast, you're able to shred that mech. Needs to reposition as well. Clumping up in the corner here against mech isn't really what you want to be doing. So once it gets later game, and if the mech and Treebeard are still in the game, he can take that into account and spread out his composition a little bit. Also is going to get a tier 3 Kog'Maw eventually. That's probably what the Nico is going to be saved for. Like, Treebeard's in a pretty good spot here.
Oh my god. I did not expect to see Jack Black and Rick Astley today. Whew, love it. Love it. I love the personality. It's great stuff. A guy named Treebeard, I get it. I feel like I get this guy. I feel like we actually might be kindred spirits on the inside. But the other thing I would definitely want to actually look at is Gunmay, especially since we're on our last lobby and he's at 12 HP right now. And this might be his last game for a while. I definitely want to see him go through the last kind of part of this fight night, however long it's going to be left for. So Gunmay sitting at 12 HP. He did get a Wukong too, so we might be going Vanguards for now as we take a look at Treebeard for another round.
Yep, going up against Narkez, who has found the tier 3 Ashe, actually. Hodge, Deathcap, and Shojin. My, I have not seen an Ashe 3 with that build, or even many Ashe 3s before, at least in this iteration of Ashe. But man, those crystal arrows are doing so much work. It's gonna like one-shot the Kog'Maw there. Oh my.
Imagine if there is a Shiv. I'm just kidding. Ashe 3 with Rabadons. That is gonna be doing a ton of damage. The AP ratio on that crystal arrow is not minuscule in any way, shape, or form.
Not too shabby.
It's something that like you're going to be doing more damage as an auto-attacking champion, but if you do tech into some AP, and that's why I think the Hand of Justice was actually a pretty cool pick on the Ashe. It's another one of those things where we have a unit that does both AD and AP damage that will be able to get all of the stats for that Hodge, and Ashe apparently slips right into that equation.
Seemingly so. Gunmay did win the last round, so maybe we'll win this one as well. That is only an Echo 1, but an Irelia 2. Ham Gang may fall, or Gunmay may fall here.
An elimination round, but Gunmay doing a little bit better so far. It will have to deal with the Jhin on the back line, but the Echo makes quick work of it. Oh, and that's another unit that will combo that Shiv with CC very, very well. So, especially since it is guaranteed to proc during that ultimate and then guaranteed to get that extra damage, definitely an option. And you never really think about Static Shiv as a late game option like that.
Yeah, no, but now with these recent changes, you're going to start to. Lucian is going to be a good item carrier for it until you get to the end. And yeah, it's on the Echo right now. It's doing work. Gunmay on a 2-win streak here. Any single round here could be Gunmay's last round of TFT in terms of tournament play for a while, though. So can't help but, clench a little bit for Gunmay here.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely going to be a little bit of the end of an era, especially for fight night. It's so much participation from Gunmay. I believe probably has like 30% participation in all fight nights that's ever happened. Probably higher than that with the 13 weeks in a row. As you're actually seeing this Irelia delete these units right now. The Chum the Waters is almost just a tickle. Is more for the CC at this point than the damage based off of those nerfs. It looks like as Gunmay will fall thanks to that ASOL, will finish in a 7th place. Gunmay, you've done a lot for TFT. I hope you come back for the 3rd time. It's not goodbye, but see you later. Thanks for coming, and GG's, my friend.
GG's indeed. A moment to shout out Gunmay. He's been a phenomenal competitor here on Fight Night Rising and in all TFT tournaments, especially recently during his own self-imposed redemption arc. He has been a joy to cast, a joy to play alongside. So yeah, shout out to Gunmay there.
We got to see him grow from someone easily tilted and easily to anger to a super controlled player in the span of like 2 weeks. And that was one of like the best storylines of TFT, in my opinion, for a good while. So, and Team IKEA, you can't ever discount Team IKEA. But
you really can't.
Yeah, Gunmay. We'll see you later, my friend, as we get back to this lobby. Pay Gunmay some respects in the chat. Again, a wonderful player, wonderful person, and has done, again, a lot for our community as Jinxed. Sitting in 7th place. Narkez doing a much better job this time around. Simply wojtek in 3rd place. A 3rd place finish might be enough here, but finishing ahead of Mismatchedsocks is the goal. He wants to finish ahead of both Narkez and Mismatchedsocks to really feel good about his position. But with Treebeard being a little bit lower on the totem pole than usual, things have kind of opened up here, even though he did develop a little bit of a lead as Jinx gets a little bit frustrated at his position right now with 15 HP. This Janna is actually doing a lot of work. People forget how much damage Janna does do. And that's so much CC. I believe it's the same. It's very similar to the amount of time Ashe stuns. It just doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I actually don't know offhand. I believe you if you say that. Ooh, what a decision here to make. I think that is the correct one, though. Jinx has a very, very strong comp. Treebeard actually did hit the Kog'Maw 3. A lot of people on low HP here. That's actually an Infiltrator Malphite.
Oh my god, it's my favorite! Yeah. Yes! I told you we're kindred spirits, Khroen. Sorry for ears, by the way. But the Infiltrator Malphite. Okay, so this is how it works. So he's going to get aggro through everybody, and it was perfect when you had Misfortune to ult around the Malphite here, as everyone is there. And I guess it would be better for the victor to get there as the Infiltrator Malphite. I needed it to work, but I got to see it in a professional game. Treebeard, thank you so much. That was fun.
Yep, Infiltrator Malphite. We saw it there. Unfortunately, didn't work out.
Space Jam, Infiltrator Malphite. You know, we're seeing some crazy stuff today, Khroen. Today's been an awesome lobby.
It has, actually. I can't be disappointed by the things that we've seen here. Even looking at this board right now, Narkez with the tier 3 Ashe, Shojin, Deathcap, Hodge. You look at that, a couple patches ago, you'd be like, what am I looking at? But right now, it's like, hey, it's working out. He's sitting at the top of the lobby, I believe. Yeah, top of the lobby, above Socks, in the top 4, guaranteed here. Has saved up to go to level 9 with 50 gold still. Where does this stop? Does Narkez just roll the Xerath too and put himself in a position to win this lobby?
Ooh, I mean, I guess you could accidentally Piba if you're Narkez right now, where yeah, and that's totally fine. And we got that tier 2 Xerath, which is absolutely huge. The Janna's not really going to do much, but he is got double tier 2s with those 5-cost units. We'll have to wait at least another round. He's got another round. I can't say the same for a Jinx, who is trying to go Piba himself. Finally gets that Janna too, and we saw how strong just Janna 1 was with those tornadoes along with that damage, and the Ashe gets eaten. So this is a huge deal now for a Jinx. This is one of the few openings he has had so far, and because the Ashe gets eaten, all of the damage is out of the way, even with a Xerath 2, even with a Jhin 2, as Jinx brings it back. I mean, that's Chris Kyle there, as cosplaying as Urgot, getting that Ashe in the back line.
Yeah, man, that snipe was so unfortunate for Narkez, but exactly what Jinx needed. Mismatchedsocks also fell last round to wojtek, so we're starting to even out these top of the line HP numbers here.
Okay, I believe Mismatchedsocks needs to finish in 4th and wojtek needs to finish in 2nd to get top 3. I could be lying, but from my memory, I believe that's pretty close. But the key for wojtek is to finish ahead of Narkez and Mismatchedsocks to give them the best opportunity to come back for a 4th week or fall victim to the 3-week curse. Is that going to happen? As we're seeing Narkez and Mismatchedsocks right now. For some reason, I can't say his name right now, but Mismatchedsocks showing that you can transition into Blade Masters at any point in time as he gets another victory. wojtek's not going to want to see that, as this lobby is anyone's game.
Yeah, Jinx actually might fall here, and he does. The Janna was not able to clean up there, so we are in our top 3. Sox did not finish in 4th, but wojtek could still be 1st here. This is actually really intense. One of the most intense situations we've had for the top 3 in the Game 4 of Fight Night Rising. Every single placement matters here for these players.
So Narkez, I believe, has solidified the top 3 based off his performance here. Especially if he finishes ahead of Mismatchedsocks, but it doesn't look like Narkez can take Mismatchedsocks' composition right now. Simply wojtek trying to set the pace. This mech is going to potentially bring him back next week or cause him to fall, as that mech going to be taken down incredibly quickly. But that Victor ult into the back line doing just as much work, and he's going to get a second ultimate off. Will simply wojtek actually take down Narkez here? Will this Jin be able to survive? The answer is no. Is he eliminated? He is not. Oh my goodness.
HP
and 2
Narkez.
HP for Sox. Woo-wee.
Man, this is intense. wojtek, though, my lord, that mech is so strong. And you know what else is strong? That GP2 with RFC in the back line. So he's just chilling till he farms his ulti and casts on whoever he's attacking there. wojtek's onto something here on a 6-win streak. If you look at this composition as it is right now, you're like, okay, it's, at least for me, it's strong, but there's going to be things that are stronger, right? You look at Sox, level 9, 6 BMs, pretty good. You look at Narkez, his composition's pretty insane too. Ashe 3, Jin with really good items, but wojtek still might pull it off.
I mean, I could only assume that Sox lost to wojtek's Ghost on that last round. So this is make or break for Sox and wojtek. We're going to be looking at Sox. He's going to be going up against wojtek. This is a big one. wojtek needs to finish ahead of Sox to give himself an opportunity. This Master Yi needs to burst down this mech as fast as possible. But with that Urgot pull, does not pull the mech. The mech does get a little bit more damage, but these Blade Masters aren't going to feed through this mech. But that Janna ult might have been enough to bring this back. This ult, no, so close, but we're going to get a rematch as everyone still in the lobby.
This is so intense. I love these situations here. These top 3, top 2s. I mean, it's still a top 3 because Narkez survived as well. Not sure what Ghost that was against, but survived. Boy, that was such a close round. The last thing alive. If that mech had rolled healing, maybe it would have won, but we'll see next round.
It might be a coin flip in terms of wojtek's mech, right?
Yeah.
Narkez, 1 HP. I believe Narkez and Mismatchedsocks will be eliminating. One of them will be eliminated this go around. Simply wojtek has solidified 2nd place no matter what, as the Echo in the back line has the Shiv, has the Hand of Justice, gets that ultimate off. 2 procs of the Shiv, true damage. The Janna helping out his cause. This Yi still in the back line so far, undeterred. And the Janna actually not going to get pulled in, and Mismatchedsocks will fall. And simply wojtek is going to live with 3 HP. Everyone losing to Ghosts right now. Casper, doing a little bit of a scarier cosplay for these players. But man, like, to end this on Shelly too, like with one more NPC round for the very last fight after this. I mean, I think we had a 1-to-1 HP at some point in the past, but in terms of stakes, this is huge for wojtek. If he's able to pull this off, I think he solidified himself as a wonderful TFT player and someone to look out for just in general, as the sun is coming up where he's at.
Oh yeah, it is. It is late for sure, but wojtek hanging in there, the mental fortitude, the perseverance to take this lobby potentially in 1st place. Can the mech do it? Gets larger area upgrade for the GP. It did get nerfed a bit ago, but still is good. Warmogs, who does it go on? It's going on the Shaco.
A couple more ultimates that might be enough to maybe get that Ashe in the back line. The Karma is going to want to attach to the Victor.
Yeah.
Here we go, friends. Last round of the last lobby. We have got snipers versus mech, and the mech is going to get bursted down really quickly, but it's more about the Victor in the back line here getting a nice ultimate, and the Gangplank ult is not going to be best case scenario, so now it's all up to the Shaco. Shaco versus Ashe, but ZZ Rock comes down. Simply wojtek will finish in second, but is that enough to top 3? What an exhilarating lobby that one turned into. I mean, I got chills for some of that. And that final scoreboard is going to be one that Simply wojtek is going to have to look at. But will he fall victim to the 3-week curse? You know, I kind of brought this up as a little bit of, oh, this happened 2 weeks in a row, but it has happened every week since I've casted. No one has made it past 3 weeks of Fight Night Rising. So we shall see if wojtek will break the curse today. But I'm impressed. I'm continued to be impressed by his play just in general, as I had no idea who he was until we cast him in EU Fight Night. Next Scoundrel, myself, and I'm assuming you all very, very impressed with his performance.
Yeah, definitely impressed, and we'll see if it was enough to get into the top 3 and be invited back next week. Barely not. Needed that victory actually to win the tiebreakers versus Mismatchedsocks. So wojtek, while being top 4, is not gonna make that. But Narkez won that last game. Gotta give some props to him. 30 points is our victor here tonight. Treebeard in second with 27 points. And Mismatchedsocks, the feast or famine, the Blade Masters was able to secure a top 3. We have Adrehhh and Jinx for 5th and 6th respectively. Ham Gang. And then, of course, Gunmay at the bottom. No longer a part of the returning cast here at Fight Night, unfortunately.
What an I mean, basically wojtek has 1 HP.
Hello.
Game, right? Hello. How's it going? Welcome, Narkez. What a crazy last lobby that was, man. Were you how confident were you on that last round that you were going to take it?
I mean, I won the rounds before, so I was like kind of confident in winning. I hit Jenna too at the end, so.
Yeah. Khroen, you got any questions for our Fight Night champion? And just before we start, this is probably one of the more stacked lobbies we've ever had. So congratulations on winning. Like this was an awesome Fight Night, at least from our perspective. A lot of stuff went on, a lot of really cool things went on. So thank you for this wonderful game as Khroen kind of takes over.
Yeah, Narkez, first of all, congrats on winning tonight's Fight Night. You had a very spectacular performance, winning 2 lobbies. I want to get your overall impressions on patch 10.16. Do you think that it changes anything in this meta? Are you approaching the meta differently? What do you think about things like Hand of Justice and Static Shiv changes? Just kind of general patch impressions so far.
So I think the patch is like you can play a lot of different comps. Like I think I played 4 different comps all 4 games.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Hodge is really good. Static is really situational. I actually won a game with like Pikachu, where I had like Frozen Heart, double static.
Interesting.
So if you have like a lot of CC, static seems to be a decent item as well.
Yeah. I guess on that, do you think that Frozen Heart is the best thing synergizing with Static Shiv, maybe?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because yeah, it's like I don't think it's close because that's the debuff, like AOE debuff, that just deals true damage. So yeah, if you wanna go for static, you probably need Frozen Heart or like a lot of CC in your team.
Yeah, definitely some good insight there. Boop, do you have anything else as a follow-up?
Yeah, in terms of just what's been going on, in terms of the changes and the new items, like how are we feeling about the patch in general? We like to ask most players who come on to share their thoughts because it's one of the best opportunities to.
I mean, I'm playing like a lot for fun on ladder because it doesn't matter. So I actually I qualified for the Mortalk tournament with like 1k LP and dropped like 700 LP the next few days. So
I felt that.
Giving it away as charity, right? It was a good Samaritan type of move.
So I'm not sure if I can like. I still like Chrono Ash into like legendaries. It feels good, but.
Yeah, and that Chrono got buffed. But the other thing I want to mention is, so we had a split with NA and EU Fight Night, and our first kind of combined Fight Night with our top threes from pretty much at any point in time, you come out as the victor. So do you want to say anything to any of your fellow competitors now that you are here on this interview and you came in on top and you're the champion of this Fight Night Rising?
I mean, EU is obviously better than NA. Like, that's
all right. Get him out of here.
All right. Okay. And thank you, Narkez, for joining us today. We're going to change the rules and not invite. I'm just kidding. But I like it. Yeah. I like the spicy.
Go ahead, Narkez.
Yeah. So NA is free. That's like all I can say about it.
I love it. Khroen, any parting words?
You know, I had some nice things to say, Narkez, but not anymore. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, you played super, super well. EU, definitely a great region. Once again, congratulations. Do you have any final kind of parting words here before we
plug your socials and stuff.
Yeah, sure. Where can we find you?
I mean, I'm on NarkezTFT on like Twitch and Twitter. And I appreciate GiantSlayer for all the tournaments they run.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. That's it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on a sick win. That last lobby is some of the, I think, most exhilarating TFT I've watched in a very long time, and that was awesome. What a great return to NA, and we have to say it, Khroen. We're back in NA, and EU won today, so we'll just get you back next week. How about that?
Sure. Hey, there was like 5 EU players, 3 NA players, I think, so it's a little bit of EU advantage here, but we'll see what happens.
That is taking hairs, but Narkez, thank you so much. You are free to go, my friend, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you for being here.
See you later.
All right.
Love talking to those players, man. It's so funny, like, that EU-NA rivalry runs like since like World War, since like the Revolution here in America, so like it runs deep.
Hey, I like the rivalry. It's nice in terms of a viewer, spectator experience, getting hyped, supporting your region, being like, ooh, can they back up the trash talk? Maybe next week an NA player will beat Narkez. We saw Treebeard in second, Socks in third, 2 NA players, right behind. So this is a tight competition here, but we will see what happens next week on Fight Night Rising, as we'll be signing off for now. But it has been a pleasure, of course, Boop, to be back on the desk casting alongside you. I have missed this. Hope you would hold down the fort, but I'm back to help do that with you.
Yeah, it's like it's like everything is right. Something was missing. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it, and I think I know what it was. It was Khroen. So I'm so happy that we're back and doing this, and I can't wait till next week.
Me as well. From here at Fight Night Rising, we'll be signing off, but we will see you all next week. Have a good one. Stay tuned.